live TV. I think people need to understand that when we come to them like this is live TV. There's no editing, there's no cutting, there's everything is, you see what we're putting out. And for you and I, we don't have a technology team out there, right? Working.
No, I actually just realized I forgot to record what I just did. So I just pressed record for you.
That's okay. Again, you know, this is, as I said, live TV, you know, and for those that have never done this, it's an opportunity to expand, to pivot, and you'll be surprised at what you can do. So as I said, I wanted to talk a bit about the immune system. And so today, I'm going to be talking about 3 secrets to manage your immunity. My husband has just come in, my technical advisor, and has told me that you're seeing some of the screen.
Yeah, we just need to see the slideshow point of view.
Yes, here we go. How's that?
Excellent.
Perfect. Yes, so 3 secrets to manage your stress and support your immune system in 2020. And you know, you and I, Andrea, talked at length yesterday about how just 4 months ago, the beginning 4 months ago, we talked about our goals for 2020. And we talked about 2020, powerful time. It's all about focus. It's about clear vision. It's about goals. It's about a time that we've been waiting for, 2020. And who would have thought 3 months later, we would be having to focus on the immune system and be working from home. And thinking back, you know, a lot of people I know are in the same situation as I am. Maybe a month ago, you would have thought, you know, if I could just have some time at home, some peace and quiet, where I can review, regenerate, that would be awesome. Now that we've got that, all we want to do is go out, do stuff, you know, go visit friends, network, do all of that, because, you know, we're just human. And so with that comes the immune system. So let me share some information about what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about improving the immune system without prescription drugs, without injections and surgery, which I know you and I are up to date on that, with no side effects.
Yeah, no side effects.
What we are going to talk about, and you've been talking about at length today, and that is we are energy. We're made up of light and sound. As Einstein said, we're packets of energy, and we vibrate at a frequency. So doesn't it make sense that if energy is what we are, wouldn't energy, A, be our first language? And secondly, wouldn't we go to energy modalities or energy healing to heal us? You know, I'm all for doctors, don't get me wrong. Doctors can cut us up, take out stuff, sew us back, set bones, do all of that. But they'll be the first to tell us that they don't heal us. Our body, which you've heard about all through this morning, has the innate ability to heal itself. When it's given the right frequency, the right information, the right nutrients, this amazing piece of architecture, which we've been given stewardship of, can do some amazing things. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The company that brings this amazing cutting edge technology is called LifeWave. So I do have to read a disclaimer. The statements on LifeWave products, websites, or associated materials have not been evaluated by any regulatory authority, i.e. the FDA, and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or medical condition. Now, I say this up front because, you know, we can't escape the fact that we're all in, you know, shelter in home because of the coronavirus, because of a flu. And so I will not make medical claims, but we will talk a little bit about how the flu affects our body and how we can take care of that. Quick little blurb about me. You heard some background from Andrea. What I would like to share, a couple of other things, is that I'm an international entrepreneur. I have lived all over the world. I was born in Zimbabwe. I tell people I'm a white African-American Latina because my father was English. I was born in Africa. I'm so proud to be in the United States, and my mother was from Spain. So there you have it. That is what maybe my epigenetic makeup is. My genetic makeup is I am half Portuguese and half Spanish. So I've mentioned that word, epigenetics, and you and I talked again at length about that yesterday. It's a very exciting science, which we'll dive into a little bit today. But the other thing that I wanted to share with you is because I am this international entrepreneur, I have lived overseas, I have had a business, many businesses in fact. I've been flying the jet airplane of life. Had everybody on board, the family on board, took care of everything. Everybody had oxygen except me. And then 18 months ago, the body said, enough is enough. And I hit the wall, such that I was having terrible migraines, went to an event, came home, took a leave. Within 45 minutes, my husband had to rush me to hospital because I looked like I was a candidate for that show Botched. The lifts were huge. And let me tell you, within minutes, I was hooked up to an IV because they said I had an allergic reaction. I was in hospital overnight. The next morning, I decided that I needed to do something different. And I stopped doing what I was doing and realized in hindsight that I'd stopped driving because I was suffering from brain fog. And that's what I called it, because I didn't want it to be called anything else other than brain fog. Because again, as this woman who takes everything on board and walks and challenges life at all levels, I thought, you know, I could cope with it, not realizing that it was affecting me so severely. I found a functional doctor, and the story is through the doctor that I found epigenetics, took care of myself. And then while I was doing all of that, I had a situation with my dad, who through a confluence of events over 2 days was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia. And I'll go into a little bit of that story. But I wanted to bring this up in the front so that what you hear from me is why I feel so obligated to share this information with you. Because I was not looking for a business in the health arena. I had done first year medicine many, many birthdays ago. And luckily for me, the first year you did medicine, you had to do an autopsy in order to graduate the next year. I failed dismally. And so just as well it was in the first year, not the fifth year. So I became an evening wear designer. Can you imagine the total antithesis? But I've always been excited about health. And as I said, I was not looking for a health business, but because of my health and because of the health of my father, I was seeking solutions. And that's really what I'm going to bring you today, is some of the solutions that I found. So again, if we talk about 2020, who knew? Who knew that we would be dealing with the unexpected, the unknown, and the unprepared, which is causing fear, anxiety, and stress. And I know you've talked a lot about stress today. We're going to talk a bit more about stress. We're going to talk about how it manifests. But I love this little visual that I have here. You know, 2009, we talked about the housing bubble, how everything collapsed around us, right? Now here we are in home, in a bubble, protecting each and every one of us, protecting our immune system. So as I said, who knew that we would be looking at that? So moving straight along, let's look at stress and inflammation. You know, this slide is pretty poignant. It says that, you know, stress is a $300 billion problem today. I must tell you, this slide presentation, or this slide was created maybe 4 months ago. That number is significantly different. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is much more than that. Because we know that stress enters the body at the speed of thought. When you stop for a second, think about what's on your TV, what you've been listening to and hearing about for the last 2 months. If we're in home now for our 3rd week. But we're being bombarded with information that we take in, and every cell in our body, aided by the vagus nerve, takes it all in and listens to it and has no way of getting rid of it other than through producing inflammation. So we know inflammation, you know, mimics radical aging. It also is linked to the brain and increases pain. For a lot of you that are out there, you will find that your stress leads to pain, and then it becomes more painful as you become stressed, and it's a vicious cycle. And you know, the other thing about stress is that when it leads to inflammation, it attacks our immune system. So this slide here is just a little bit of information on all the things that inflammation attacks. We know we do need to have a certain amount of inflammation for our daily activity because it is important. However, it's not for us to be overwhelmed, to be totally consumed by inflammation. So I have a secret for that. And the secret is an Eon patch. It's this technology that I was so delighted to share with Dr. Andrea a couple of months ago. As I mentioned, it's just a little patch made of bioengineered nanocrystals that when applied to the body, like here, when applied to the body, the light from the body emits a frequency that is picked up by this patch, and the frequency is then regenerated back into the body. So its light hits the patch, the frequency goes back into the body and stimulates parts of the body to do some amazing things based on the configuration of the crystals. So this one here is called Eon. Comes like this. It is amazing for addressing stress at the speed of light. Remember me saying stress comes into the body at the speed of thought. This, through light, reduces stress at the speed of light. And so we know that we have the ability to simply, as you said, you slap it on, drink some water, and breathe. Give a couple of minutes, and you'll feel the energy course through your body. You'll feel invigorated, and more importantly, the things that you don't know or don't feel are happening, and that is a reduction of stress. And let me share with you, some of you might be taking some things for stress. Be mindful of what you're taking, because some of those things that you're taking for stress are actually doing some rather devastating things to the body. And I'll talk a bit about those as we move through this. Again, the Eon patch, we've got some thermography showings here, showing the body before the patch and after the patch, and some testimonials, which I'll just move on. The second problem is the weakened immune system. And again, stress enters the body and also causes inflammation, and that in turn weakens the immune system. And we know toxicity, decreased immune function, brain fog, and cell damage in the liver are all results of a weakened immune system. So the second secret is my favorite when it comes to talking about patches that have widespread application. You know, we're talking about a toolbox. We've got a tool for stress, which is Eon. We've now got a tool for glutathione. And glutathione, for those of you that don't know, is the master antioxidant. The body cannot live without it. And a lot of people now know about glutathione. They're having IVs and not realizing an important thing, and that is when you have an IV of glutathione, or if you do take some glutathione in a pill, what it does to the body, this again, this amazing architecture that we have, it signals to the body that the body doesn't need to produce any. And so after a while, you'll find that some of the things you've been taking, you need to up the dose because the body's not supporting your dose. And then what you will find over time is that the body goes, you know, not only do I not need to make it anymore because you're putting this stuff in, I've lost the ability to make it. And that is where it is very, very important that you do not use anything that reduces the body's ability to produce glutathione. So we have a patch that is really pertinent for right now. I wear it here, very powerful center of the body. And you know, Dr. Andrea will share with you, you know, she has already powerful meridians, acupuncture, and acupressure points that we can apply something as simple as a patch, and it stimulates the liver to produce glutathione. And this little patch, applied for 24 hours, you wear it 12 hours on, throw it away, wait for 12 hours, put another patch on, and in that period, you will have increased your glutathione by 300%. Whereas if you have an IV, exactly, when you have an IV, you would maybe only increase your glutathione by 10%. So glutathione depletion, you're going to want to know what happens. Why we are depleted in glutathione. Poor diet. And I know you talk about that all the time. And when we talk about poor diet, you know, we're not talking about food. so much as nutrients, food with nutrient dense value. Because we can eat a lot of food, but what is the nutritional value? Also, we know chronic diseases like autoimmune disease. We also know infection. There's that word again, stress, environmental toxins, and also glutathione. We know as we age, we lose the ability to do a lot of things if left unchecked. And one of them is the production of glutathione. And then, you know, I was talking about 3 secrets. So I'm going to talk about 3 problems. We've talked about the first one being stress, the second one being glutathione or the lack of, and the third one is losing health and cognition as we age. Now, do you remember me saying that I wanted to term what I was suffering brain fog? Because there is another term that I wanted to steer away from, and that is Alzheimer's and dementia. We've always been led to believe that Alzheimer's and dementia is an old person's disease.
And inevitable, right?
Yeah, and inevitable.
It can't be prevented. Like everyone's going to go there someday. It's one of the other circulated concepts.
And so what happened to me was just about 12 weeks ago, Maria Shriver, First Lady of California, got on in front of a whole group of people talking about Alzheimer's and dementia and how we're not, you know, we're still looking for this cure. And she said that women are at the epicenter of the Alzheimer's crisis and that we, women, need to be at the heart of the solution. And I believe what I'm sharing with you today is part of that solution. And the reason why I say that is because people talk to me and say, Simone, how can that be? How can women be a statistic as young as 55? And I go, well, the statistic is this. The leading cause of death for women over 55 in areas such as Orange County, LA County, San Diego, New York, the statistic is women over the age of 55, the leading cause of death is Alzheimer's. So I repeated that not because I'm losing my mind. It's just that I want you to know this is a very real thing. And for the simple reason, women are busy taking care of family, taking care of business, just like me. Taking care of the family leads to stress. Taking care of business leads to stress. Just living in the 21st century leads to stress. And so what do? We find we're not sleeping. And then because we're not sleeping, we become more stressed. And because we're stressed and not sleeping, we decide to self-medicate. And we find things that are maybe acetaminophen, ibuprofen, not realizing that what that does to the body destroys glutathione production. It leads to further complications with the brain. And we realize that we need to continually up the dose. And then we find that that's not helping. So we take ourselves off to the doctor, and the doctor goes, I know, you're depressed. That's why you're not sleeping. That's why you're stressed. That's why you're not losing weight. And so they prescribe you something. And that works for a little while. And then you feel that you need to call your doctor and say, I think I need to up my prescription. And they up the dose. And then you'll find those terrible ads on TV, and they'll say, if you're on X antidepressant, tell your doctor about Y, because X and Y go together very well. And before you know it, women are out there taking medication at such a high level that they need to be concerned about, you know, maybe ending up at the mall having driven there in their sleep, because there is something that they take, and it begins with an A. So that is why women are at the epicenter. And that's why I believe we have the solution. So let me move on and tell you why. I have a video that I want to share with everybody that's going to give some insight into our patches and give you also some insight into the company, the owner of the company. And I'm doing this for the first time, so you're going to have to bear with me when I see if I can actually find my video now.
So it's very exciting to explore this idea of how we can help ourselves with this kind of toolbox.
You know, I'm not going to be able to find it, so I'm not going to want to hold people up. So I'm going to go back to where I was, Let me see if I can move my screen along. This is the beautiful thing about technology, and that's why I say to people, they don't really appreciate how nerve-wracking this can be when you've got to be the person that is doing everything without any tech support.
But it's really about the value of the content and the intention to help is more important than any of these technical difficulties. So we've shown up today outside of our comfort zone to figure it out.
Well, thank you. So here we go. Let's see. Everybody can see it except me. No, my husband is telling me he can see it on and I can't see anything.
Yeah, we can see your overview, not the slideshow view. We can see the other menus. Slideshow from slide.
Yeah, you can see that and I can't see anything.
Hmm.
You know what? How about this? I'm going to stop my share so I can speak to you for a second, and then hopefully it's going to let technology settle. And here we go.
It needed one of those minutes a day resets like we had talked about in the first hour when we came back after lunch. So our electronics also need that little reset, right? When we have to restart things. They're electronic beings too, our computers, right? They'll reset too.
This is crazy. Here we go. Technology working now. We've just got to wait for it to buffer and not do this whole thing that I've got here. I know.
Thanks everyone for your patience. And so we're going to give everyone the opportunity to contact Simone with any questions. Also go to her website as well. I can be an interface for more follow-up and questions too as well. And so whatever time we have today, we'll make the most of it and we will follow up with all of you.
For some reason, I'm not sure. I'm looking at my technology here. It's not letting me move through my slides. Let's see if we've got this working now. Let's see what we have here. Well,
at least now we can see the whole slide about the copper peptides.
Okay, I apologize for you being able to see what's happening on the left-hand side, but you know what? This is all good. As I mentioned, live TV, you know, we're just like everybody else that gets paid the big dollars, right? So let me talk to you about copper peptides. I wanted to share with you a solution for the cognitive decline, the cognition, and that is called X39. The video I was going to share with you was about X39. X39 also is a patch. It's bioengineered crystals that does some phenomenal things. The first thing it does is it's allowed to be put anywhere on the body. It doesn't have to be on a meridian like the other two patches do. This patch stimulates copper peptides. And copper peptides have been identified as being able to signal to stem cells in your skin, the niches of stem cells in your skin, sends the signal, and it says to the copper peptides, it says to the stem cells, hey, you guys, you need to revert to native stem cells. In other words, stem cells that are undifferentiated, that don't have a designation. They're not a stem cell for skin or for the liver or for the heart or for anything like that. So then they get that message and then they're told to be deployed to where they're needed. And why I'm so excited about that is because a lot of people are very excited about stem cells. You know, you can go and have injections and you can have IVs. Stem cells are the future of our health. There's no question about that. They are the building blocks of humanity. You start off with the ovum and the sperm. They meet each other, have a party. Within 4 days, you're this mass of stem cells, undifferentiated. And then in 12 weeks, you then develop a liver, kidney, heart, brain. So you become this beautiful little fetus that's connected to the mother through the umbilical cord. And that is where there is the most number of stem cells, is in that connection. And you know, we talk about the connection of a mother and a child. There is nothing stronger. And let me tell you, it's even stronger when you understand what happens to stem cells. When a mother is pregnant with a baby, she is supporting the baby and the baby is supporting the mother. The stem cells go both ways. So for me, that makes me go all cold and goosey and warm and fuzzy, because it is so important. And so when people don't understand the power of stem cells in the cord blood, it's because they don't understand that connection. And I will say that when you have a stem cell IV, those stem cells work. They first go to the lungs, then to the liver and the heart. Now, if you're wanting them in your toe, that's another matter, because really the body and God, or God, body and spirit, are the only ones that really know where those stem cells are required. So when you have injections into your knee, they work, but maybe not as well as you want, because you're wanting more than they're able to deliver. So I believe that, you know, we'll be able to regenerate organs very soon, so that we won't have to have liver transplants, you know, lung transplants. But that is in the future. What it is now is X39, and this is a phenomenal patch, because not only what it does to your internal organs by virtue of knowing what a stem cell is, it does amazing things for the skin. And let me share with you, these little critters, stem cells, are now being able to repair lungs for people that might have had the flu. So, you know, the CDC has been talking about copper. They've been looking at hospitals and question, why is it that hospitals no longer have counters that are made of copper? Why is everything stainless steel? Not realizing that viruses die in the presence of copper. And so for all of you that love chocolate, you're in good shape, because we really need to make sure that we have high levels of, safe levels of copper in our body. And the first place that I look is dark chocolate. There's also copper glucinate. There's desiccated liver. There's asparagus. There's chia seeds. There's a whole lot of things that you can take. But you know what? God doesn't give us anything we can't handle. And what better medication to handle something as much as creating copper peptides in our body than to give us chocolate? I'm all for it. So stem cells, the greatest thing about that is that they work, they are the future. I just believe they need to have a lot more regulation around them. And you know, we live in a society where people want to see instant results. With these patches, when it comes to X39, we know it's doing phenomenal things to the heart, the liver, the kidneys, the brain, phenomenal things for the brain. However, because we can't see it, sometimes we question it. And yet we'll take other things and not question them, because they come with a little prescriptive pad, right? So I put together some photos here of some testimonials showing what our X39 does when it deploys stem cells that have been activated by the copper peptide to a particular location. The first one here is a young guy who was snowboarding, pretty cut up on the left. And look what happens in just 5 days. Pretty amazing. And then these are a couple of my two favorites. The first one is
for some reason we can't see these pictures.
Oh, you can't see my pictures?
No, and they're so good.
Goodness. That's no good. No wonder people might have thought, well, you know, now she's lost her mind.
There, perfect. We can see it.
Okay, let me put it back. Just one more. So this is the one that really is amazing.
Because it's so fast.
It is, isn't it amazing? Look here, a little boy, I'm looking on my phone to make sure that I can see what you see. The little boy cut his finger in the car door, Dad took him off to the doctor, trying to keep the finger intact, and they sewed it back, thinking that, you know, the doctor said, this is not going to work. We're going to have to amputate the finger because this is going to cause more toxicity to the body. And then look, after 10 months, this amazing little finger, who would have thought, just by using something as small as this in the right place. Then the other group of pictures is actually my father, who's 95. And you know, our product works no matter your age. The theory is out there that once you hit 60, your body really slows down producing stem cells. And you really start to see significant aging. Your hair goes white, your skin becomes wrinkled, you have those crow's feet, all of that stuff. But here we're able to demonstrate that at 95, when your skin is so fine, and bear in mind this man for 25 years prior had been using statins, proton and pump inhibitors, blood thinners, a whole host of other medications which do render your skin very fine. So he was scratched by our little puppy, tore back the skin, actually had to paste it back, put a patch, and you'll see 19th of December, and look what happens on January the 6th. Amazing. 17 days later, you can hardly see a little scar. The next one, you know, we've talked a little bit about stress, we've talked about inflammation, but X39 addresses pain through discomfort, through inflammation, but also through physical pain. We also know that increased vitality, you know, as we age, we tend to slow down, our metabolic rate slows down. What our stem cell therapy is able to do is deploy our stem cells to cells and to regenerate the mitochondria. So for those of you that don't know what the mitochondria is, it's the little furnaces within our cells that create energy. And as we age, they slow down and we reduce our energy. What better way than to have stem cells reactivate, regenerate younger mitochondria? So I don't know about you, but I'm certainly up for younger stem cells, younger mitochondria, younger skin. And then finally, this piece, you know, whenever I see this slide, I think of the IOC, you know, the International Olympic Body has postponed the Olympics. Our company has offered these patches to Olympians around the world 3 months before the Olympics and 3 months after for free. And if they podium, they will get X39 for life. And you're going, well, Simone, doesn't this violate the terms of an Olympian entering into the Olympics? Isn't there something to do with doping? Well, let me share with you, in 2005, the swim team were creating a lot of new records, breaking world records, and they were using X39 equivalent. It was, in fact, not X39, it was our energy patch. And there was controversy because someone saw these patches and complained. Well, the IOC did a test and found that the athletes were more than welcome to use our patch, entitled to use our patch, because nothing enters the body other than light. So now Olympians around the world can use our product. There's a lot of sports people around the world that use our products because we're in 129 countries. And also for you and I, using X39 gives us more energy. We've got more energy that keeps us healthier, fights inflammation, fights stress. And there are a whole host of benefits from being more energetic. The last lot of photos I want to share with you. The first one is the lady on the left. Yes, I can see, you can see her. She started off, just thought she'd give it a try. Look at her 3 months later. If you looked at the picture before, you'd think this woman is stressed, tired, and there's something obviously wrong here. And look at her 3 months later. And the thing that really gets me, I mean, the skin looks amazing, but look at those eyes. You know, we talk about the eyes are the windows to the soul. That looks amazing. And then my favorite one is this woman on the right, 93 years old. Never thought she'd be a supermodel, much less for a company that sells patches. She tried the patches. She lives in Denmark, and if you know anything about the climate there, it's rather harsh. You'll see the first picture, she looks like somebody who's 95. You know, I hate to say this, the lights are on, but nobody's there, right? But look at her 2 months later. The skin looks amazing, and those eyes, again, are phenomenal. And why I'm
Sparkly.
excited about this is because at 95, think about what our level of cognition is. And I mentioned to you that my father had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and dementia, and it was a scary time. And it was because he was in a rehab center where we took him to recuperate or to get himself to a place where we could take him home, that I discovered epigenetics, which then led me to meet the scientist David Schmidt. And so my husband and I have put together a protocol of patches, exercise, and nutrient-dense food and supplementation via epigenetic tests. We put together a protocol that when my father came home 14 months ago, he was in a wheelchair, oxygen, diapers, rubber mat on the bed had to be fed. He's now 95, a year and a bit later. No oxygen, walks unaided, does a gratitude journal, does crosswords, fully conversant, alive again, and present, all through a protocol that we put together. And you know, remember me saying that women are at the epicenter of the Alzheimer's crisis, and we need to be at the heart of the solution. I believe this is at the heart of the solution. I've had anecdotal evidence that we've been able to restore cognition by using this patch. 7 weeks ago, the company released clinical trials and a pilot study, which clearly showed that we can restore cognition and reverse cognitive decline. Now remember that Alzheimer's and dementia is like having a roof with 36 holes in it. There's no one thing that's going to be able to block those holes. Big Pharma is looking for one thing, the magic bullet. And the Alzheimer's groups and federation and fundraising bodies are trying to find the magic bullet. They won't, because it's a matrix of things. It's a matrix of things that include the patch, acupressure, acupuncture, exercise, breathing, all the things that you as a community are hearing from Dr. Andrea. So that is that picture and why I wanted to share that story. So let's do a quick recap. We're going to recap on the patches that I talked about. The first one is Eon, which addresses stress, you know, because we are being inundated with fear porn. I love that, fear porn, because that's what it is. We watch it on TV, we hear it all the time, and it is doing some rather debilitating things for our cells and our stem cells. Glutathione, the master antioxidant, essential for us to live. Without it, we expire. And so again, the immune system, supporting the immune system is key because we can increase our production of glutathione by 300%. And then finally, X39, which comes in a sleeve like this, X39 activates our stem cells, elevates copper peptides. And if we think of for such a time as this is a good package because we are protecting the immune system, we're reducing our stress, we have the ability to heal our body, allow our body to heal itself if it is infected by a virus, a flu, bacteria, anything like that. This whole group of patches put together, simply put it on, drink water, sleep at night, or rest during the day. That package will prepare you and guide you and maintain your health for what awaits us on the other side of this for such a time as this. Now, I do have some packages here that I recommend. However, bear with me because you know that you are unique. You have a unique fingerprint, you have a unique genetic code. So it really means that you and I, or you and Dr. Andrea, need to get together. And she'll recommend, or I'll recommend, a package specifically for you. Because we believe one size does not fit all. And that's what she's teaching you. That's why she's putting together this whole concierge toolbox that we can take responsibility for, because that's the key. The healthcare system is broken. It's time for us to take responsibility for our own self-care. So look, my phone number is there, 760-953-9484. And my email address is simone@acceleratedhealth.com. Or alternatively, alternatively, and in conjunction, you can contact Dr. Andrea, and the two of us can do a consultation. We're offering free consultations with regards to the patching protocol.
Yes, I have on my website, I have a shop page, and it has a link that goes to Simone's LifeWave website where you can see more information about the patches. And then you can schedule virtual consults with me. They're by donation, suggested donation of $20 for us to be able to be accessible to you, to help you build your toolbox, because there are many tools. And depending upon your budget, depending upon what resonates with you, we can start to build a lifestyle. So I like to call it lifestyle design, which is what Simone had described, the protocols that she's written about in her book, Your DNA is Not Your Destiny, that she developed with her husband, Rick, for her father. This is a package, right? This is a lifestyle that is designed to promote health and wellness. So it's not a sick care system like our healthcare system as it exists. It's not waiting to get sick and not waiting until symptoms accelerate to a high level out of control. It's about promoting wellness, living in a way that promotes your peak performance and your wellness and quality of life. That's the point of all of these tools that we're sharing today, from our mindsets, how we think, and now in this afternoon, how are we supporting our physiological functioning? That, of course, as she explained so well, affects the quality of our mind functioning, that affects our emotional experience of our life between those two states of mind and body. So do you have any questions? You can do a question in the chat and we can respond. And of course, you can contact us at a later time to learn more about this wonderful tool. Again, I love it because it's so easy, so simple. Anyone at any age with any health conditions, any level of possible activity, range of motion, what have you, regardless of any challenges or limits, it's just a stick-on.
Absolutely.
It's very simple. You have water and you wear the patch for 12 hours. And it's a wonderful place to start too, especially if you do have some bigger challenges. Because then when this shift starts to happen from one simple practice, one change, you can choose any one tool that's shared today. Like these patches, just one thing can create this incredible ripple effect that then opens up a whole new gateway to a whole new life for us by making this one step and sticking to it and creating this momentum of change. Because when we use the tool, the results can come. If we don't use the tool, then we are not open to any results that can come, right? So if we show up for ourselves, we can create wonderful results for us to enjoy. So does anyone have any questions? The chat is open. We have about 5 more minutes now or so.
Well, how about I answer the question? You know, there are some key questions that people always ask.
Oh, great.
What are the patches made of? They're made of bioengineered nanocrystals. And what happens is when you look at the back of the patch, you take it off and you won't see anything because it's nano, which means not even the eye can see. The crystals are configured to emit a frequency back into the body, specific to what the patch is required for. How long do you wear them for? Which is always a good question. You wear it for 12 hours on. So the glutathione I'm wearing during the day and the X39 I wear in the day. Wear it for 12 hours on. Take it off, throw it away, wait 12 hours, and put another patch on. So they last for 12 hours. How many will you get? Well, you get a package like this. It's called a sleeve, and it comes with 30 patches, so that's 30 days. And where do you put them? The patches come with a little booklet with a little generic map on where to place them. Another question that people want to know is, are our products FDA approved? Our products are made in FDA approved facilities. The products are not FDA approved. They're not a drug. There are no contraindications. There are no side effects other than when you wear our X39 or any of our patches, you would more than likely start to detox, because when you're getting rid of stress, you need to drink water, and that starts the whole detox process. So you might find that you need to drink a little bit more extra water. And we believe half your body weight in ounces is a good measure to start with.
Absolutely.
The other thing I wanted to share, and that is, when I first found the patches, I came home and I told my husband what they were, and he said, "This sounds like woo-woo." And I said, "Well, you know what? It's interesting you should say that, because up until a few years ago, in fact, only last year, chiropractic was considered woo-woo, and now it's approved by Medicare." I said, "This is woo-woo combined with 21st century technology, now with clinical trials." That's something I didn't mention. We have over 80 clinical trials and 100 patents for this technology. So this is not some fly-by-night thing. This has been around for 15 years. And the first patch was made for the military, the energy patch. So when I showed him the patch, he said, "Woo-woo." I said, "Fine, keep your thoughts to yourself," lovingly. And 3 days later, I called him and I said, Rick, you've got to come and have a look." Little did he know that my father-in-law had not been able to raise his arm very high for years. He had a rotator cuff injury. I patched him X39 for 3 days. And after 3 days, I said to him, "Per, can you lift your arm?" He said, "I think so." "Yes, I can."
Oh, wow. That's incredible in 3 days.
Absolutely. And so my husband looked at that and he said, "It's gone from woo-woo to woohoo."
To wahoo.
That is a great story. I love that. So just so that we know what to do, winding up here while we wait for some questions if there are any, it's about taking action. We know what people are not doing. So much has changed in the last month. People are not going out socially because of that word social distancing. Who would have ever known or thought that we would have had such a phrase, right? People are not going to work at the office. A lot of us are still working from home, not going to school, and unable to visit aging parents. All of that leads to stress. So do the following. Gas, you're not spending money on gas. Gas is the cheapest it's been, I think, for 20 years, right? But you can't go anywhere to, justify filling up with gas. We're not dining out, we're not entertaining, and we're not traveling. So we're not spending as much money on things that we would normally spend. And then the things that we are doing, the tough things that we're doing, we're worrying about friends and family. We're watching hours of negative news, that fear porn that I was telling you about, and taking risks with our health when we shouldn't. So now we're at home, and the best parts of being at home are spending time with family, with communicating even via Zoom. Families are having family night via Zoom. We're exercising at home, and Dr. Andrea has given you some phenomenal tips and techniques on what to do there. We're cooking food at home, paying more attention to what we're eating, and we're focusing on wellness and health. And so that's all I wanted to bring to you, is the ability to take responsibility for your health, not necessarily having to resort to drugs, medication, when in fact you can allow the body, given the right technology, to heal itself. So Dr. Andrea, any questions?
So when people you had said you're wearing more than one patch at a time when you want to address more than one condition, so they're not counteracting each other, they can work in synergy. So that makes that simple as well. And then I loved the examples that you showed of the 3-month timeline, as far as I've seen that in clinical practice for many years, and also dating back to being a yoga instructor and working in gyms and leading 6-week challenges and weight management programs and teaching this kind of curriculum and material. there's a timeline that the body takes in order for it to rebuild and regenerate from this stimulation. But what was so wonderful here is that you can see some really big jumps within 3 months, but you're seeing these little jumps along the way in just days from those examples, like the healing from the cut example. And so what I have found too is that when you start a modality like this, when you start using the tools that we've been sharing today, there are these little increments of jumps that you see within 3 days, within 2 weeks, then within the month, 6 weeks, right? And then within the 3 month and the 6 month. Because in general, when we look at physiology from a medical point of view, it takes approximately 6 months for soft tissue to regenerate. So our body has this big job, and that's what we're helping the body do. Its big job of rebuilding us. Every of 3 trillion cells, one at a time, they are remade.
Exactly.
Now that's a pretty big job, right? And that's why over time, after doing that huge rebuild process over and over, without us supporting the body doing that regeneration, then yes, at about 60-ish, it can start to slow down, because it's like a factory that's never had any maintenance or repairs done very well. That hasn't been shipped right, any more materials, tools, or supplies, right? That's operating with a skeleton crew, right? On automatic. So how can it keep up this level of production of 3 trillion cells? That's such a big job. So I always like to give a context of the realistic timeline within what the body actually does do, so that we can look for those clues along the way to reinforce our positive action, because we can see these results in little bits. And then also we can chronicle the big results, which I wanted you to please share your personal story, because I thought this was so powerful. So now, because of technology, one of the things I love about studying Western science and new technology is that all of this ancient tech I've been studying for over a decade and practicing and using can be viewed through Western science, right? So we can actually track the efficacy of these mind-body practices, this lifestyle medicine, preventative medicine, with science, which is what you had done. So you used these patches. Simone stimulated her body to heal itself, to regenerate, and then now all of the testing that we have today to measure, we can measure our physical age that doesn't necessarily match our chronological age. So just because I've had 46 birthdays, I can get some functional medicine tests done, which I also ordered these lab kits for patients. You can send it at home, send it to the lab. So this shutdown doesn't have to stop you discovering these truths about yourself and measuring the efficacy of your lifestyle, right? Designed plan of preventative medicine and wellness. You can see the result. And that's what Simone had done, is she looked at what is her physiological measured age with the tests that we have available to us today, and has actually reversed her aging to go back before her chronological birthday. And I have done that with my practices over the last 10 years as well. It's been very exciting. So there are all these roads, right, that lead to this Rome, so to speak, this ideal place. So please share what your journey was with these patches, because it's in a short amount of time and it's a significant amount of age reversal.
It is. And, you know, normally I talk about age reversal and anti-aging. And for right now, people are more concerned about the immune system. However, when I started out, before I started with the patches and I was going to the functional doctor, I had my physiological age determined as that of someone who was 67. I was not impressed. Then I started using X39 and a protocol with LifeWave. And by May, I had the chronological age of someone that was 65. Then by October, I was 62. And then 10 weeks ago, I was 59. Now I'm 62. And so I'm so excited because now I'm on that other side. And, you know, we know that if we can regenerate, reactivate, and lengthen telomeres, that we can actually reverse the aging process.
Mhm.
But you know, the interesting thing is, because we want to see instant results, we don't always do a self-check. And what I would suggest to people from today is, no matter what tool you're going to use,
Yeah.
before you use the tool, do a self-check. Write it in a journal, you know, like just like you write your weight, do a self-check and see where your aches are, where your pains are, what does your skin look like, do you have any scars? Because what happens is time goes by, we feel better, and we forget how bad we felt, or what our skin looked like, or how bad our hair was. You know, a classic example is your hair as you age goes white for the simple reason you have a copper deficiency. And as you have this copper deficiency, you can't activate stem cells efficiently as you'd like to. And so your hair doesn't carry melanin in it. So for instance, someone like me, my hair is black. For years, I was dyeing my hair because I would have this big white mark. You know, it was like, no sooner had I dyed my hair, the next day it looked like I had little white scalp issues, right? Now, at 62, my hair still grows 1.5 quarter to 1.5 inches. But now I have black coming from the roots, which is very exciting. And a classic example is Einstein was white at a very early age. I think it was at 35 he was white. And he died from a copper deficiency.
Yeah.
So look at nutrients, take a body check, do a body scan, and avail yourself of the techniques, the tips, and the tools that Dr. Andrea has got for you today. And so thank
Yes,
you very much for having me.
oh, thank you so much, Simone. I'm so grateful for your time today and sharing this toolbox with us and making it available. And she is so supportive, so helpful, so available. And please contact us with any questions about any of these tools, and we are happy to support you. That's the whole point of this community, is we want to empower you to take control of your health and your life experience, not only in this COVID-19 shutdown. Now, this is a great opportunity to use this time to evaluate, as she just said, take stock. What is your baseline? So I like to describe it as our inner GPS. Where are we starting? We can't use a GPS without two locations: where we're starting and where we want to go. That's what's required here. And then we can make the path. Then we forge the path, right? So take this wonderful time that we have, because it can be wonderful time. We can switch our perception from this forced stop being forced and feeling like prison in some ways. We can embrace this time to do this vital work of evaluating, is our lifestyle, the way we've been thinking, feeling, behaving, and living, supporting our health and wellness? Where are we right now? Because our physical state is here to tell us, like you said, if you look at how it's the texture of your skin, what is the color of your hair? Have you had some of these micronutrient deficiency tests? Have you been aware, evaluating? Our body is here to help us. We think all these symptoms are annoying, right? We can, but it's actually a message asking for help. And we can use this time to start to learn how to listen better, and then broaden our scope of choices of how we respond. So now we have many more tools now after today. That's our goal, to give you many more tools that are ideally non-invasive, do not have side effects, and actually deliver results that are clinically proven. So it works for other people in research studies. It can work for you as well. That's the goal here, to give you the courage and the impetus to embrace these new tools and give them a run, so to speak. Pick up the toy and play the game and see where you land. And we can enjoy this process. And one of the things about this group is to make a community that holds us accountable and supports us to make these changes and build in these new habits. And answer questions when you have questions and help you figure out what your next steps are. And then we can share our results in the group too, right? Which would be so cool. Because I still get the white hairs that I started getting back when I was very overworked and stressed in my first business that I had as a jewelry designer. It's so fun. You were evening wear designer. I was a jewelry designer for 15 years. And I worked, oh my God, 80, 100 hours a week. I didn't take a vacation for 7 years. And oh, wow, lo and behold, I started to have some white hairs growing. So it would be really fun. Like for all of us, that would be one of the things that I would notice that would be different for me from using the patches that I would watch for as a baseline. Do I have roots coming in, right? What's going on? That's so fun. So thank you so much for your time today. I love that you encouraged everyone to take the time to get their baseline of where they're at, set their starting point in their GPS, and offer this wonderful toolbox to them. And all of you, feel free to contact us to follow up. And we are happy to support you in exploring these new tools. So thank you so much, Simone.
You're welcome.
And have a wonderful, wonderful day. If you can stay, now we're going to have a wonderful colleague, friend, mentor of mine, Dr. Tiari White, that's on the line. So I'm going to make her a presenter too. And she's going to pop in here. So let me press these buttons. And thank you again, Simone. Bye-bye. Have a great day. So now Tiari is showing up here. And I want to introduce her. And so I have so many important and gratitude-filled, wonderful things to say about my dear friend, inspiration, and mentor, Dr. Tiari White. So we had gone through our whole traditional Chinese medicine education together over the last decade, which for both of us going back to graduate school as adults after having other businesses and lives and what I like to call maybe quite a bit of mileage and responsibilities at the same time was quite a challenge. So this is Dr. Tiari White, my comrade here.
Hello.
Coming to us from beautiful Ojai. And so
yes,
like myself, she is a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and a wonderful author and speaker who uses food, herbs, functional medicine, and mind-body techniques to treat acute and chronic health issues. She holds a master's degree from Yosan University of Chinese Medicine and completed her doctorate at Pacific College of Health Science, and has postgraduate specializations in women's health and emotional well-being. And she holds a master's degree also in film from AFI, and published a book on film production and worked in film and television as a producer on many health transformation shows such as The Biggest Loser before making her transition into medicine. And always the innovator, ahead of the curve, Dr. White also founded one of the first wildly successful online supplement companies and became a certified nutritionist to better support her customers of her supplement company. And then that's what led her to becoming the doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine she is today. And she's full
Thank you so much, Renee.
Love and passion.
Thank you. That's an amazing introduction. I really appreciate you so much.
Oh, you're the best.
We've been through so many years of training in natural medicine, and it's great to have an opportunity to be able to offer something really practical and useful, and also a perspective that hopefully will leave people feeling more empowered.
Yes.
Maybe some of the current dialogue is doing for them. You know, we're in a time right now where we're facing so much uncertainty because we really don't know a tremendous amount about what it is we're up against. And most of us also aren't really that familiar with how to support our immune systems naturally. So because you and I are in the traditional Chinese medicine field, we've been getting a lot of information from experts in China about how they've been handling the virus and treating people from a preventative and also remedial. We won't use the word curative, only because we really want to be able to have this material stay up for a while. So from a remedial level, you know, Chinese medicine is extremely knowledgeable about how to handle epidemic diseases, especially respiratory ones. It's been an issue in China for thousands of years. And one of the amazing things about Chinese medicine is that experts in China over millennia have been
thousands of years, yes,
documenting what they've been doing over time very meticulously for various stages of various diseases, and generations of doctors have been adding to the same literature. So it's an incredible resource, a clinical resource of epidemiological and clinical information. That is what doctors in China today have been taking that information. They've been blending it with the Western knowledge. And over the last 50 years, they've been doing incredible clinical trials and modern scientific investigation of these protocols. And a lot of that material is only published in Chinese. We have a small percentage of it that's available to us in English. And maybe one of the silver lining aspects of what's been going on with this particular epidemic that we're facing right now with the COVID-19 is that a lot of this information is being shared in a condensed format so that people around the world can access it. The only problem is a lot of that information is being served up to the people who are most immediately interested, which are people within the Chinese medicine community in China and internationally. And that information, there's a bit of a bottleneck to get that out there. A lot of people are frankly afraid of even talking about natural immunity because it's, you know, getting them banned and shadow banned and blocked, and people are concerned about liability and all of that. So there's a bit of a dampener on that. And our community, just in terms of its size, is, you know, rather small. So I just really want to applaud you, Renee, for doing your part in sharing this information online and providing a forum for it, because not a lot of people are doing that. Not a lot of us are introverts like myself, and we're really not that excited or interested about being on camera to speak about these things. But it's a time when we really all have to kind of get over our individual issues and personality stuff and whatever, and just get out there and really talk about natural immunity, because that's really has not been a big part of the dialogue. That's taking center stage at the moment. So basically, just to look at what I'm going to cover in the next half hour or so, I just wanted to, first of all, just look at the general concept of natural immunity, bring that front and center, and then I'll go into a presentation that Dr. John Chen, who is an elder, kind of very well-regarded pillar of the Chinese medicine community internationally and in the US, a presentation that he made where he summarized in a brilliant way formulas, approaches, a way to look at this virus and preventing it as well as treating it from an integrative standpoint. So we'll do that. And then I've got like whole bunch of things here on the table that are things that I picked up on Amazon at the local health food store. So some of the things that we'll be talking about are things that really a professional member of the Chinese medicine community should help you to implement, because our medicine is really based on bio-individuality. So it's based on the fact that, you know, we all present with our own unique terrain, right? We all are coming from different places, health-wise, genetically, lifestyle-wise, age. All of these things affect how anything that we encounter in our environment, whether it's a virus or it's temperature change or it's an allergen of some kind. All of these things affect how our body reacts to it. So the medicine that we receive for dealing with that response also needs to be unique. And unfortunately, it's not easy to deliver one-on-one, unique, bio-individual medicine in a kind of MASH unit setting. So, you know, the ideal thing here is for you to find a TCM practitioner that you can work with mostly via telemedicine. I know, Renee, you're doing that. I'm also doing that. I have my email address at the end of this presentation. There are lots of, basically the entire TCM, domestic TCM community is not considered, we're not considered essential healthcare providers. So we're all working now through telehealth. So pretty much any TCM provider you may have worked with in the past, or you want to look up in your local community, is probably doing some version of a phone consultation and can help you in that way. And you know, look around and hopefully you can find someone. So
and too, you can contact us as well. We have a huge alumni network from more than one university, and we are happy to give referrals as well, because I know several of you are not in California where we are, for example, but that does not mean that we cannot help you get connected with someone that can do these types of video virtual consults and evaluate your case and design a treatment plan for you and ship the herbs to you anywhere in the world for your needs.
Exactly. And the wonderful thing to remember is that just, you know, like we are bio-individual, the natural world, there are many plants that do many of these functions. So if there's any particular herb that we talk about today that you can't find, chances are there's another herb that is available to you that will do similar things. So that's another benefit of, you know, working with a practitioner. A lot of this information you can get online. I'm going to include a bunch of links for people that are really proactive and want to get in there and do their own research. You know, that'll all be there for you too. So first of all, natural immunity. Let's just talk about that for a minute. There's been a lot of focus on hospital care, on the race to find a vaccine, to looking to these outside methods to try to safeguard ourselves from deadly viruses or injurious viruses. But our first line of defense is the natural line of defense, which is our own bodies. We are inundated with viruses on a daily basis, and our bodies are constantly fending these off. We're constantly working hard. Our body's working hard behind the scenes to maintain homeostasis. You know, that's how we're able to walk through the world and get exposed to people sneezing all the time, coughing all the time. We're in and out of Ubers, handling door handles. We are doing this constantly. We're surrounded by, we're in medical professions. We are in hospitals. We're working in jobs that are exposing us to tremendous number of viruses. And our bodies, you know, is something that some people may not be aware of, but viruses also work with us in a positive and supportive way to maintain our health. So we're made up of so many different viral and bacterial organisms that exist within us and on our skin surface in a very delicate and constantly evolving balance to maintain our health. So the goal here is not to become free of all viruses and bacteria, because when we do that, when we do that, it's, you know, I know many people may be familiar with what happens when you take antibiotics. You know, you take antibiotics and then you wipe out a lot of the natural viral and bacterial terrain in your GI tract. And then what happens there is that, just like in a garden, you know, if you rip everything out, you know, weeds are sometimes the first things to come back. So There's a natural harmony that's been disturbed, and then you get things get a little bit out of balance, and then you have to reestablish that balance. And sometimes that takes time. So the key here is, in terms of our mindset, it's not about nuking ourselves. No, it's not about that. And that is kind of what's going on in the mentality right now. It's really not about destroying all of the bacteria or viruses that are present in our natural environment. It's really about making ourselves as healthy as possible, as hardy as possible to the natural balance of viruses and bacteria that we've been encountering. And when we have a new one, something novel that shows up, we want to be able to adapt. So what we're really looking for is resilience.
Yes.
Okay, we're looking to be resilient and adaptable. We're not looking to be sterile. Okay, sterilizing, that is not necessarily the best approach. Okay, let's think about this just for a moment. Where do we have the most insane, crazy bacteria and viruses showing up these days? Hospitals. Okay, hospitals are unnatural environments where every surface is constantly being sterilized. It doesn't have a natural organic order, okay, like a garden or a forest. These are environments that are the opposite of being sterilized. Instead, they have a natural terrain and a natural balance of viral, bacterial, animals that are breaking things down, things that are being consumed. So that's something I love about Chinese medicine, is that it really supports on a conceptual level the fact that there is a balance that we're looking to get to, a balance that is the human expression of the natural balance that we see in nature, okay? Because we are nature, we're part of it, right? We are the forest, we are the garden, the beach, the whole thing, right? We have to be, that's where we came from. And if we're looking to be resilient and to adapt to some sort of extreme change that's going on, we really want to be looking to nature first. Okay, and it's sad that that could be a potentially, a volatile statement in this day and age, but we really want to be working with nature and with our inherent systems to create this resilience. And when you are looking at resilience and you're looking at nature, right, things shift. Things go, it's like a sailboat, you want to go directly to some destination, you're going to tack. You're going to go this way and that way. Doesn't mean that you're going to die, right? You may encounter something, you may get a little fever, you may get a little reaction, you may have a runny nose, you may cough, and then you do something to adjust back, and you keep doing that. And guess what? You've been doing that your whole life. You've been doing that since you were born. You've been doing that in utero. Your ancestors have been doing that for generations. That's why you're here. You are the expression of millennia of successful adaptations that have brought you to this moment, okay? So just for people who are listening, remember that that level of organic and natural power exists within you. It is inherent in your DNA. So rather than thinking of yourself as sort of incredibly fragile and vulnerable, which will only create a state of fear, which will create a cascade of unfortunate cytokines and all kinds of inflammation and different sorts of immune system responses that are really not helpful. Instead, try to be in a state of knowingness about who you are and what you are as a human being, about your inherent resilience, about the fact that you're connected to this incredible legacy of beings that have survived. Guess what? We've been having pandemics in the natural world every 5 to 6 years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands of years. One of the amazing things about Chinese medicine is that it is the longest history of uninterrupted recorded medical knowledge. And it is a giant inventory of epidemic diseases and how we've responded and handled them over time. And yes, people have died for sure along the way, and none of us want to be one of those people. However, we also need to, be aware of the fact that we have even greater resources now, right? We have so many amazing resources of information, distribution, and access, even now, to so many natural health remedies. We have so many ways to control our environment in terms of temperature, in terms of wind, in terms of all of these other assaults. So we're way ahead of where we've ever been in history in terms of having the resources that we need to be resilient. One of the main pathogens that we need to deal with right now is fear. Okay. It's one of the biggest pathogens of our time. And it's also one of the biggest ways to crash your immune system.
Yeah. Okay.
Fear and trauma are the biggest predictors of ill health. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the adverse childhood trauma event studies that have been going on, and they found massive correlations between childhood trauma and future health issues. And, the trauma it doesn't stop, it begins in childhood, but it doesn't stop there, right? We all know the military, of course, has studied post-traumatic stress. There's been so many studies coming out of that, but we are, as a collective, in the middle of experiencing something that could turn into a massive post-traumatic stress epidemic in our society. And that alone will have immunity consequences. And let's remember that at this point in time, because of issues with access to tests and all of that, mostly we're on an epidemiological level, we are looking at assumed cases of COVID, but we're looking at some symptomology that is really about a respiratory breakdown, right? Immune system. What happens when your immune system goes down? You become susceptible to pretty much every type of minor to major influenza type virus that could be out there, bacterial issues. There's a lot that we're being exposed to right now. So let's just take a breath. And I know Renee and some of the other speakers have been providing everyone with some incredible Qigong and yoga exercises. One of the most major benefits of these exercises physiologically is that they take you out of fight or flight.
Yeah.
So we all need to stay informed, but we need to do our best to try to stay out of the fight or flight. And that can be an addictive place to stay. Mentally, people get hooked on the endorphin dumps that come from being in fight or flight, and it's not good for your immune system. So if you're exposing yourself to a lot of that stuff, you may be working at cross purposes to all the other things you're doing to try to build up your immune system. So that's kind of the foundation, is to lower your stress levels, specifically try to lower your fear levels, and get into a place where you're actually implementing and doing things that, and this is very important because this gets into the importance and power of the placebo effect. You really want to be doing things that you personally know and believe are beneficial to you, okay? Make sure those things are scientifically backed, yes. Go ahead and do your research and really know it in your gut, and then do those things, because those are going to be the most powerful things for you personally. And that may be different for each person. And there are hundreds of ways to go about bolstering your immune system. So find something that makes sense for you personally, that you really believe in, and do that. And as much as stay informed, but as much as possible, try not to fall down the rabbit hole of fear porn, for lack of a better word, that can be addictive and is really not constructive for you. So given that, I think what I'd like to do right now is just get into some of the herbal protocols.
Yay.
All right, so let me see here. Let me see if I can share my screen.
So you see the big share screen green button at the bottom
There it is.
toolbar?
Got it. Okay.
And then it'll open up all your windows and you click on which window you want to share.
All righty, let's go
and
in
then
here.
hit share. Awesome. So,
okay, so let me go in here to
yes.
This, and we're gonna do this as a presentation.
Excellent.
Okay, are you seeing that?
Yes.
Yay. Okay, cool. So just so everyone knows, what I'm about to present to you is the work of Dr. John Chen. Dr. Chen is one of the most esteemed researchers and physicians in the, let's say, Western and Chinese medicine community.
Because he's a doctor of pharmacy as well. So
exactly.
He works both camps.
Exactly. And he's somebody whose work for me, being somebody who really values the Western scientific point of view on medicine and on herbs, he really put those two things together, and I learned so much from his work.
Absolutely.
So yeah, and he's been working with physicians in China who've been on the front lines treating people in Wuhan at the hospital level, at the epidemiological level. He's one of the most informed people. So he's put together an incredible resource. I'll give you the links to it and tell you how to search for that information yourself. And I've just included a small subset of that really lengthy and detailed presentation that he made available online. So this is a map that just shows you China. Okay, China's huge. It incorporates a huge number of different environments, different terrains, from rainforests to deserts to the cold alpine regions to hot and humid regions in the south. And the medicine that's been developed in China in all of its different regions, different ethnicity groups in China, all of these were sort of kind of, just to summarize it, they were brought together and synthesized into one sort of mega form of medicine that is now called traditional Chinese medicine. But really, traditional Chinese medicine is a modern amalgamation of medicines that came from all these different regions. And epidemics show up in different ways in all these regions. So I'm just showing that to you because just to let you know, this is a really comprehensive body of knowledge that applies to not just the Chinese. It basically applies to pretty much any region that you might be in the world.
Yes, human beings in any part of the world, human beings in any environment. This is how the disease process unfolds for thousands of years. That's been meticulously documented for our benefit.
In particular, epidemics and how they show up in all these different types of areas. Okay, so like I said, this is a webinar from this TCM expert, Dr. John Chen. You can search for these slides and more by just Googling Dr. John Chen coronavirus. The second link that I got when I did that was this one below. That's from Pacific College of Oriental Medicine, which is where Renee and I both got our doctorates. You can also do a YouTube search to get the webinar just by Googling what I've written down there. That's the title of his presentation on YouTube, and that's on the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine YouTube channel. There's also a source of TCM education called eLotus, elotus.org, and they have a couple of pages that are just loaded, I mean, loaded with links, including interviews with doctors in China who have been on the front lines and exactly what they've been doing. So I leave that for you there. And now I'm just beginning now with some slides that are John Chen slides from his presentation. More than 85% of all patients with coronavirus, approximately 60,000 people as of late February, in China, they all received herbal treatment along with their Western medicine treatments. And boy, did they take those TCM treatments seriously, because they really work. And they did both. And as we know, they're getting back to business now. And I really believe that the Chinese medicine, along with the Western approach, was probably very key to that. Dr. Chen in his presentation talked about the fact that there are different phases that people go through when they're dealing with this virus. And really with most respiratory illnesses, there's usually a state that you're in before you get sick. This would be the prevention phase. This is where you want to be taking things that are supportive of your immune health to try to give you that resiliency that you may need to deal with something novel. And by the way, I just want to say, we are dealing with novel viruses all the time, because viruses and influenza viruses, respiratory viruses in particular, are constantly evolving. So there are always new novel viruses showing up. That in and of itself is not unusual. So we always want to be taking things like the herbs that are on this screen here that have been proven in clinical trials to help make your immune system more responsive in a healthy way, not over-responsive, responsive in a healthy way to different viral and bacterial assaults that you may encounter. I'm going to go through a few of these in a little bit more detail, but I just want to point out that this first herb, Huang Qi, otherwise known as astragalus, you can find that widely in health food stores. We also have Jin Yin Hua, which is honeysuckle, which is also widely available in different health food stores. You may see that in formulas. If you see that, that may be a good formula for you to take a closer look at. Chen Pi is citrus. It's a orange peel, and that is, of course, there are tremendous benefits to antibacterial benefits to a lot of citrus, of course, grapes, grapefruit extract, and all kinds of citrus oils. And you may find in lots of natural hand sanitizers like this one that I have from Dr. Schultz. He's a favorite of mine for Western herbal stuff. His hand clean is got peppermint, thyme, ginger, distilled water, and lemon essential oil is the first ingredient. So if you have citrus at home, save your peels, dry them, make a tea, smell the oils, all of that's good. Dr. Schultz also has, I don't have a bottle readily available, but he also has a roll-on essential oil that you can actually put in your nostrils to help basically seal them off from viral assault. And it's pretty interesting. He uses very careful language when he describes what the benefits are of these oils. But the basic point is that a lot of these essential oils like oregano and thyme, they do neutralize viruses. And you can do your research on that anywhere on the internet. It's available.
75 research studies on oregano oil alone.
Oh yeah. So so anyway, prevention phase, these are all great herbs. specifically for prevention of SARS in China, they've been using these. The top two are formulas, and Yu Ping Feng San and Sang Ju Yin. And then after that, there are two herbs, Da Qing Ye and Huang Qin. The last two are herbs that have a lot of antibacterial, antiviral effect. The top two are extremely common and popular formulas for respiratory issues. Again, I just want to say, I think it's important to just put this information out there, but it's better if you can work with a practitioner, because that person can really evaluate what stage you're at and what you may need. That being said, I share that information with you. Let's talk a little bit about Wang Qi. This is a terrific preventative herb. Once you're in a respiratory situation where you're already sick, it is not necessarily the herb to rely on, because it's a tonifying herb, and once you're ill, you may want something that is more of a clearing, something that's helping you clear the viral and bacterial issues from your body. But in a preventative stage, Huang Qi is a fantastic one. It has so many different benefits beyond the antiviral and antibacterial benefits. That's one of the wonderful things about natural medicine, is that all of these herbs do multiple things. They don't only do one thing. Like, say, for instance, a pharmaceutical medication may lead you to believe it only does one thing. Most pharmaceuticals do way more than one thing. Those are generally known as side effects. They're not all, mostly they're not positive, these side effects. But in the plant world, plants can also have side effects, but they also have lots of wonderful, multi-varied positive effects. And Huang Qi is definitely one of those herbs.
Yeah, the clinical research studies have shown it boosts these B and T cells.
Exactly.
It also increases mitochondria function, really important stuff.
Yep. If people out there are not familiar with, you can find Huang Qi on Amazon. There are lots of different herbal companies that are selling it. I really enjoy products. I have sources that are really direct to practitioners that I use, but on a retail level, I enjoy Ron Teagarden's granules for all of his herbs. They're very clean. They dissolve easily in water. They come in little packets. So Dragon Herbs is the name of his company, and you can check those out. His products tend to be a little bit on the pricey side, but I do appreciate the fact that they are very clean. Okay, free of pesticides and other things that you may not want to have in your herbs. Here's Jinyin Hua. This is an herb that clears heat. It's very cold, so when you're running a fever and you have heat toxins, as we call them in Chinese medicine, in your body, this is a great herb to help clear that. It's antibacterial. It'll kill staph infections, E. coli, dysentery, cholera, salmonella. These are all, again, based on Pseudomonas, tuberculosis. These are all based on scientific research that's been done on this plant. Now, this herb in particular, I believe, is getting sold out everywhere right now. Have you heard that, Renee?
Yeah, I had to go through some tea companies to find some dried versions of it. When we go into our wholesale resources for clinical access for us to prescribe herbs, some things are on back order and sold out because a lot of us tried to up our stock to serve our patients because of this great, very important research about this herb.
Yes, so I believe you can still find this herb, but you may just have to dig a bit. Quite a few TCM practitioners understandably did go in and purchase these herbs in order to provide to patients. I did that Renee did that. Pretty much everybody who wanted to make sure that they would be able to have the tools to be of service did go into our professional resources to purchase these. I understand that in mainland China, they are working on establishing supply lines to allow more of these herbs to get out to international markets. But there may be some hiccups along the way. This is a great one if you can find it, or you find a formula that features that. That's a really good one to look at, Jinyin Hua. Again, more studies. All of these herbs have been highly documented in their efficacy. And Jinyin Hua in particular has been studied extensively with SARS, in that it literally inhibits the replication of that virus. And if everyone knows, SARS-CoV-2 is the virus that is related to COVID-19 most closely. So it's definitely
96% similar to it.
Yeah. So this is one that's really worth taking a look at. If you think that you've been exposed or you have tested positive, you want to make sure you don't, you keep your response on the mild to moderate level. This might be a good herb for you to add to your regimen. Banlan Gun, radix isetitis, is a fantastic herb. This is another one that gets included in tons of formulas. It has a really well-documented antiviral effect on specifically influenza. It was big when the swine flu came around. That was an herb that was heavily leaned on. It's effective against herpes, hepatitis, encephalitis, avian flu. It's an amazing one. If I have a sore throat, I look for something with this herb right away. And one thing that's important to realize is some of these herbs can be a little bit tough on the stomach. So you want to make sure that you're taking enough of the herb to make a difference. And sometimes it's better to have it with food if it's tough on your stomach. And if you can do it on an empty stomach, then go for that. Okay. Banlan Gun, again, had a direct effect inhibiting the enzyme activity of SARS, so to help interrupt its replication. I think it's important for people to hear, at least, that there are these herbs that are documented to be helpful against the same family of virus that COVID-19 exists in. Again, a lot of them have not been documented against COVID-19 in particular, but they've been widely studied against other coronaviruses. So Yuxing Sao, Hutunier is another one that has tremendous antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory. Just to stop for a moment on that phrase anti-inflammatory, one of the issues with COVID-19 is the cytokine storm that it generates in the body. So the body has a kind of almost like an overreaction, a tremendous storm of inflammatory, of a reaction to the inflammation that actually creates an overproduction of mucus leading to pulmonary fibrosis, and that's what takes you out with this. So you want to have an herb that's antiviral, but is also anti-inflammatory. And the plant kingdom knows how to combine these things. So that's a great herb for that. It's been studied against all of the different influenzas, including H1N1, HIV as well. It's a powerful herb. Again, if you download this presentation, you can go ahead and look up all of the footnotes. The the Chinese have had years now of looking at these various herbs with regards to SARS and other coronaviruses. So the work that they have put together is worth looking at. All right, another one, Ubeza galachinesis, literally binds to the spiky proteins on top of the SARS virus, or which is another coronavirus, and stops the coronavirus from being able to bind there to the cell. So this is part of the way that that particular herb stops that virus from being able to be effective. So say you had a high viral load of this particular coronavirus. One way is to get rid of it. Another way is to kind of deactivate it. And that's essentially what the research shows that this particular herb does. On that note, I wanted to mention, I've been reading a lot in quite a few people that are into natural health are approaching this from a detox standpoint. They want to try to do all this heavy detoxing, thinking that that is going to be something that's going to be helpful for them. And I want to just say that that may not be the best approach to take, because sometimes when you do heavy detoxing in the body, you are actually exposing the body to a lot of toxins that it has to eliminate. And you can have kind of flu-like symptoms as you react to all of these toxins that you are doing things to try to release in your system, thinking that you're cleaning yourself out and making yourself healthier. But you may actually be straining yourself and creating a situation where you have trouble processing, detoxing the stuff you really, may need to get out later. So just take it easy with the radical detoxing protocols that you may find online. That may not be the best approach to take. Instead, you may just want to take an immune enhancing approach and drink a lot of water to just do a mild and natural cleansing of your body, instead of trying to do like heavy liver, gallbladder flushes and detoxes like that. You really don't want to overstrain your system. So again, more herbs, Xiang Chunye. Again, I think we already covered this, the Yu Ping Feng San and Sang Ju Yin being two prevention formulas. This is my email address. If anybody would like to have an herbal consult, you can send me an email and we can work that out. I am going to go back here to information about accessing this presentation. John Chen, coronavirus, you can Google him there, or you can go to eLotus to get some of this information.
And Tiari, there was a question.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
I had chatted back about it. So Vlad had a question that when you were talking about the benefit of citrus fruits,
yeah,
do they need to be organic? And you had said a short statement about why organic is better, but do you want to go into why we prefer organic a little bit more?
Yeah, well, I would say that one of the best things you can do for yourself right now is just to limit the amount of toxins that your body has to deal with and process. So as much as possible, try to not eat foods that are, especially if it's the skin of the fruit that you're going to be working with, go with organic. If it's something that's peeled, maybe not as important. I mean, we have to look at the stress of the cost of stuff as well, because sometimes we can get caught up in what's ideal and put ourselves into a whole lot of financial stress trying to buy things and pick up remedies that we think are going to save us. And really, in a lot of cases, it's more about psychologically that we feel better about something. But I would definitely say, if this is the skin of something that you're going to be ingesting, make sure it's organic. That's my main thing I have to say.
And you guys, oh, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, well, I was going to say, also in terms of fish, chicken, other things, if you're eating the skin of any of those things, make sure it's organic, because the fatty tissue in animals is where the toxins, a lot of the toxins get stored, just like they do in us, right? Our fat, a lot of times, is there because it's sequestering heavy metals and other toxins that the body is trying to keep out of your system. So, yeah, that's what I'd say about that. I try to eat organic as much as I can. And with my herbs, I prefer them organic. It's not always possible to find those many herbs that are certified organic, but it is important to buy your herbs from reputable sources that have certainly had them tested for heavy metals and pesticides.
And the herbs will have that on the labeling, the GMP standards, GMP manufacturing standards, they will say pesticide free. So when we purchase the herbal medicine that we use in practice, we look for those types of manufacturers that list that information, that have a third-party certificate of analysis. These herbs have been analyzed for their pesticide content to be pesticide free, for example. And there's a list you can see online. There's the quote unquote dirty dozen and clean 15 list. So the clean 15 are the fruits and vegetables, like Tiari's saying, that are recommended to be eaten organic. And then the dirty dozen are the ones that don't matter as much, because either they're farmed with less pesticides in them, or they are the way we're eating them, like peeling something, for example, we're not going to ingest as many pesticides because of the way we're eating it. Like, we don't eat the skin of the avocado, right? If we just eat the meat of it, we're not getting any pesticides that were all over in the skin. It was more protected. Yeah. So those are some resources too.
Right. Most nuts are also fairly well protected.
Because of the shells, yeah.
Yeah. So we're going on close to an hour now. So I just wanted to, before we end this, I just wanted to go through some of my go-to things.
Yay.
This is good stuff. You can't take it all the time because your body does need to detox a bit from it. But if you were in a situation, you were starting to get sore throat, you felt something coming on, you're panicking, you want to catch a hold of it. Sovereign Silver and also Silver Wings. This is an extra strength one. There's a whole debate around, what dosage is correct, the size of the silver molecule. They don't agree with each other about each other's products. But one thing that I know is both of these are effective. I found them to be both good. Silver Wings has been around since 1994 without a lot of complaints. And Sovereign Silver is definitely probably the most popular one in health food stores right now, but they're both available. And colloidal silver was the big remedy that saved a lot of people during the influenza epidemic of the early 1900s. So it's worth considering. In Ayurvedic medicine and other traditional medicines, silver is considered to be a good remedy when you use it in your dishes and pitchers that you serve water out of. And so the colloidal silver that you can get at the health food store has been studied, and only thing you have to make sure is don't take it for probably longer than 2 weeks. And if you're a parent and you're giving it to young children, be cautious about the dosage. You may want to do more research into that. They also have it for pets. Not that your pet is going to get coronavirus, although pets do have their own coronaviruses that they deal with kennel cough and all of that. But those are great old-timey remedies that really work. I also just want to show you a couple of brands. Panacea is a integrative medicine, mostly Chinese herbal brand from a very esteemed researcher who works with Chinese herbs, and he has something he calls anti-biobotanical, and it's Panacea herbs. Daniel Weber, thank you, Renee, for posting that. He has another formula called Flu X, in case the anti-biobotanical sold out. Again, a lot of practitioners have been buying these up, you know, by the dozens. Many of the antiviral and bacterial herbs that we've been talking about are in those two formulas. Another great brand is Health Concerns. They have this great formula, Clear Phlegm. They have many others that were sold out. I was able to get this one. Again, this is not useful for every stage. All of these herbs really need to be, it would be best for you to consult with somebody to help you navigate which ones you need. But I don't want to underestimate everybody's capabilities of reading the literature and looking at what your own symptoms are and taking proactive action on your own. So Health Concerns is a great brand to look at. And let's see, yes, Panacea's Antiviry. This was specifically created by Daniel Weber to deal with our, you know, present circumstance. So that's another good one. Again, with Dr. Schultz, who I think has great high quality ingredients in his work. He's got this organic hand clean. With a lot of his products, he's had to do a limit of, I think it's like no more than 2 orders per person. But this is a good one. Alcohol sanitizer plus volatile oils. This is his famous air detox. It's a very distinctive smell. You will never forget it once you start spraying it. It's eucalyptus, grapefruit, lime, lemon, and orange. Okay, so there's all your citrus, and it is literally a suspension in the air that he doesn't say it anymore. I'm not seeing him using that language right now, but basically it is helping to reduce the it's helping to make your air healthier and maybe less viral. So there it is. And then he's got this other great product called Throat and Tonsil. Now I'm just going to tell you what's in this because these are also things you can probably create yourself, right? So it's got eucalyptus, echinacea, garlic, habanero pepper, peppermint, leaf and essential oil, echinacea root, and echinacea seed. So one of the big things in here, if you try it, you'll see is a heavy on the raw garlic experience. And what you're doing is you're basically getting all of these. You want to get these antibacterial and antiviral substances. You want to be gargling with them if you can, you know. And when you gargle, the reason why we gargle is because it allows for the contact of those elements to be on the surfaces where the virus is literally sitting physically, right? So if you just take something like this and you just swallow it, it's not staying there for prolonged contact and absorption. So that's why gargling is such a big deal. And of course, one of the best gargles, it still works, is salt and water.
Yeah.
Okay.
And lemon.
Salt, water, lemon, raw garlic, throw in some herb decoctions that you have, gargle with really strong herbal tea. You know, these are all things that you can do to hack. You know, if you don't have money to spend on buying a product like this and dealing with shipping or it's sold out, you know, don't fret. Just go ahead and use some of these other things and put stuff together yourself and gargle with it and see how it works for you.
So we have one of our attendees that has a hand up. I had trouble earlier allowing Vlad to talk. Let me see if I can get him to talk to add his question.
Awesome.
When I try to unmute it, I don't know why it doesn't work. I don't know why this is. So I think you can talk, Vlad. Can you talk with your question?
I can talk.
We can hear you. Yes. Yay. We solved the tech.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great presentation. And you answered my question, because you typically, I wouldn't buy organic oranges because I peel them and I,
right.
eat the fruit and I don't care about the peel. But when you said, keep the peel, dry it off, then the question came to my mind, maybe they should be organic.
Yes, absolutely. And also, greens as well. Anything that's a leaf.
Right.
There's nothing to peel off. You have to, ideally, those things, get them organic. And actually, thank you, Vlad, for bringing a little more attention back to this, because something else I just wanted to cover is if you were really, truly concerned about food that you have purchased being not clean necessarily. In other words, people are picking over the produce, putting their hands on stuff. They're not necessarily wearing gloves. Oops, sounds like somebody's
alive in there.
Yes.
You can hear my daughter. I'm sorry.
I think so. That's okay.
That's okay. That's
She's
okay.
in the other room.
Yeah, take a look at good cleaning protocols for fruits and vegetables. And of course, we didn't go over this, but soap and water is one of the best ways to nuke this, to get rid of this virus on surfaces. So if you can't find the sanitizer, or you want to, you want to clean your food, wash it with soap and water.
Yes, just soap and water everywhere.
That will also help to reduce the pesticide load on the surface to some extent.
Really, soap will clear pesticides?
Yes, to some extent.
Wow. Okay.
But many foods, it depends on how they're grown. Some foods are sprayed throughout their development, so the pesticides really become an integral part of the food if it's not organic. Right. And some are only sprayed later in their development, and the pesticides stay mostly on the outside. So it really depends, sort of, food by food. But nowadays, it's good to wash your food if you can. If it's something that you can wash with soap, or a fruit or citrus wash that you used to be able to buy those at the market. I noticed recently they're sold out. This is something I've purchased and I haven't used it yet because it's brand new to me, but I did a bunch of research, and this is an ozone cleaner. So what this does is it generates ozonated water, and then you can wash your fruits and vegetables in it. And that will get those viruses. So those are available, a bunch of them available online. I really don't know if this is the best one, but this is the only one that I could find that was in stock at the time that I purchased it. So, we're all learning and trying to figure out, here's a little thing they advertise, the fruit and vegetable cleaning aspect. These are things that, new things that we kind of have to look at and hack our way toward being able to eat and cook that good food. Farmers markets are suffering because people are scared of getting food that's not basically packaged, frozen, ready-made, because those things seem a lot safer. And
but I want to speak to frozen for a moment, because frozen's actually quite creepy.
I rarely eat anything frozen, believe me.
I do frozen organic vegetables, but the issue about frozen is that this virus likes cold environments. So there's some literature that says that it can live in a freezer for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So if something was exposed to the virus and you put it in the freezer, the virus is living for 2 years in your freezer. So when you have packaging from a store, you want to sanitize it. You want to wash it off before you put it in your refrigerator or freezer.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, when do we know who touched what that got into the bag?
Mm-hmm. Now,
You know?
this is where I, on a personal level, I go toward moderation.
Yeah.
Because to some extent, we don't do this all the time, right? We're doing this now because we have been told we're really up against this very formidable enemy. None of us are at the front lines, and even people that are there have questions and don't know. But we have a good family friend who's at the table at the CDC. You know, she has not been personally the one carrying out tests and things. Most people are in the same, even at the top, are in the same position we are, of just listening to the news and looking at numbers on a page. So it makes sense to take every precaution as much as possible, but then at the same time, there is a balance there where you don't want to become insane.
Yes,
You
that's
don't want to
such a good
become,
point.
make yourself crazy and
And more
overly stressed, imagining that anything and everything in the environment is going to kill you, including your frozen broccoli, you know. So it's like, bring your frozen broccoli home, wash it with a little soap on the outside, and put it in your freezer.
Because you're going to cook it. You're going to kill the virus when you cook it. And we had talked earlier with Simone about copper peptides, and that the contact copper surface kills microorganisms, bacteria, and viruses. And so just the heat of it will kill it. And if you have copper cookware, that will kill it. And then we don't really have to try to limit any exposure to any microorganism in the entire world. Doesn't sound very realistic, does it?
Right. It's not. It's really totally unrealistic. But
yes.
So the best thing to do, I'll just say it again, is to make sure that you're resilient. Make sure that you are able to respond to whatever you encounter, and then take reasonable, safe, good protocol measures with the stuff that you're eating. I want to just highlight lemon balm. Another great Western herb. It does two things. It's antiviral and it calms you down. So that's a really good one to have. A really nice tea. It tastes great.
Yeah.
Really nice tea to have. This particular one I bought from Mountain Rose Herbs. If listeners are not familiar with them, they are a fantastic resource. Anybody can order from them online. All of these popular, Star West Herbs is another one. So if your local health food store is out of stuff, or a brand that you already know you like is out, I personally like to order herbs from either Mountain Rose or Star West because I know it's good quality stuff. Sometimes when you order herbs on Amazon, not every brand is, you don't really know what you're getting. So as a practitioner, as a mother, you know, I have an older mother that I take care of, and I have a young daughter as well. I always like to make sure if I'm relying on herbs, I want to make sure it's really that herb. So some of these vendors like Mountain Rose and Star West, you can really count on them. The other thing I want to tell you about is andrographis. Okay, this is a major herb, Western, Eastern, whatever you want to call it. It will kill, it is antiviral like crazy, okay? Get a big bag of it if you're concerned, okay? Andrographis, I bought this from Mayway Herbs, plum flower. This is not organic, a not organic herb. It is been tested for heavy metals and all of that. So for me, it's not ideal, but I got this big bag as a backup for my family. Just taking care of them. It's there. If you know, the crap hits the fan and we need to have a heavy supply of antiviral herbs, this is the best one to have stocked. And at that point, I am not caring about whether or not it's organic. I just want the antiviral properties. So andrographis in Chinese medicine, it's Chuan Xinlian. Chuan Xinlian. It's a great standalone herb.
And remember, we detox all the time too, again, based on the amounts of green foods that we eat, so we can clear out the toxicity from that herb too.
Speaking of detox, glutathione. Bulletproof has a great glutathione supplement that supposedly takes into account the fact that your stomach will break down orally taken glutathione usually. So this is a product that apparently bypasses that. Again, the science of it, I'm really not that familiar with, but I do enjoy this brand. I do think Dave Asprey does do a good job of researching his products. So it's a backup for me. Just there from a healthy, supporting healthy detox systems in your body, because glutathione is the master detox substance that our bodies naturally produce and rely on.
Yes, we had talked about that with Simone in the last presentation, and then these things
Awesome.
can be taken for a specific amount of time. If we take it from an outside source forever, our own body will stop making it. And so again, these like the andrographis as a herb with some pesticides as antiviral is taken for a limited amount of time for a purpose.
Yep.
And then you move on and
Exactly.
detox from it. Like that glutathione taken for a limited time, and then we move on.
Yeah, same thing with the silver.
Yes.
Same thing. Not something to take all the time.
No, not
take
more
it
than
in
2
very
weeks.
Focused. Exactly. 14 days is your max on that. Another thing that I have in my emergency backup, I have these oxygen containers, little oxygen boost. Again, I'm just preparing for worst case scenario. I have a family member having a lot of mucus, seems to be getting out of control. They had a fever. I'm a little concerned. I'm just going to give them a little extra oxygen. This is oxygen's used by athletes, singers. This is something else you can get online. You know, one of these. This is the brand I got, but there are many others that you can pick up. Again, it's not something that I'm doing. We are not taking this oxygen all the time, but this is my backup in case something happens and we need it. So that's there, and it's not expensive. The other thing that I picked up, again, just as a backup, this is a UV3, I believe, UVB3 light. So this is a UV light that you can plug in. It's literally just a bulb. So instead of the really expensive UV machines that could cost hundreds of dollars, this is just a bulb. It screws into any lamp, and you have to wear special glasses if you're in front of it because it's not good for you. It's not good for your skin or your eyes, but you leave the room, leave it running for a while, and every surface in your home will be disinfected that is face up to that light. Anything, so if I had my phone in that room and I did this, the top of my phone would be disinfected by the UV light, but the bottom would not be. So it's just something to keep in mind. So again, this is sort of like my big backup, just in case things get that serious that I feel a need to do that. That's a cheap way to do it. And then the other thing, of course, is mask wearing. I picked up this cute little mask, again, from Ron T. Garden. They have these little filters that go inside that are washable, and they have copper in them. And it wasn't expensive. So you can make your own. You can get them and put little filters like that inside. and I've seen some very convincing graphics about the fact that mask-wearing countries in Asia have been doing much better, in part potentially because of the fact that they're very strong on wearing masks. And a lot of the European countries do not have a mask-wearing culture, and they've seen they've been having a harder time. So some of those graphics have been very convincing. I do think that it makes sense to protect yourself from gross, the gross assault of somebody, coughing in your face or speaking too closely to you. People have a very strange sense of distance sometimes, even if they intend to keep their distance. They're not always super conscious of what they're doing. So it's nice. It's a very good thing to do.
And this brings us to the question from Stephanie about the thieves as an essential oil, because if you don't have a mask, you can use a bandana, you can use a scarf, you can cover your face with anything that you have, and you can also use an aromatherapy like thieves or aromatherapy like the air detox. Exactly. And also, when you said earlier, you can take something like the Kaleido Silver, you can swab your nose before you put on the scarf, mask, or covering when you're going to run out and run errands. And so those are some simple things that you could do.
Yep.
So she got the mask, Loretta had asked, at a company called Ron Tea Garden.
Dragon Herbs.
Dragon Herbs is their business name and line. And so if you look online for Dragon Herbs, you can see if they have those masks. But again,
And it has the nose forming element in there too.
Yes. But if you can't get a mask, it doesn't matter. You still can be protected with a bandana, with a scarf, using an essential oil like the thieves that was used in the Black Plague. Actually, it's called thieves because the thieves would put a bandana fabric on their face with these essential oils. Some of the citrus ones, for example, are in there, like Tiare mentioned. And then they could go into the Black Plague house and take their belongings and not get the plague. So there is a history of that. Stephanie had mentioned the company doTERRA, and then this is a great opportunity for me too to have a Q&A and a panel. I want to bring in Michael Jaselowicz. He's a big fan of essential oils, and he uses those in his real life too. I'm going to promote him to a panelist and bring him in here. And then Tiare, please go ahead. And there was something else you wanted to share to tell us about?
No, I really covered everything. Thanks everyone for having me, and looking forward to all of us getting through this in good health.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So this time right now is our wrap-up time, is our time for anyone to ask any questions, for anyone to share their experiences, to share some of their tools that they're using. I had popped Michael Jaselowicz in here too, because he also uses a battery of essential oils and makes up his own decoctions. I know that from knowing him too, because what I love is Tiare went into her cabinets, right? You did a whole recognizance in your house.
Yep.
to put together your toolbox you were showing us, so that you would have some options that you could use.
Yeah.
So we all can do that. So
absolutely.
Tiare popped in that name Dragon Herbs for Loretta's question about where to search to get that mask that she showed us.
And you can also get a lot of very high quality Chinese herbal extracts and formulas from them. They do tend to be more expensive. That's the one drawback of his operation. But the herbs are very high quality, and you can be sure you're really getting those herbs, and they're, as toxin, heavy metal free as anything you can find.
Yes, so that's an option for you.
Yeah.
And then you have those links that Tiare had shared to get some information online to inform your choices. And then, of course, we're available for you to contact us as well. Yeah. And then Stephanie has an important question. Her husband only wears a mask to go to market, but not to go for a walk or ride his bike. What do you think about that? Would you wear a mask in other scenarios? What do you feel
Well,
is right for you?
well, I guess I'll start by just saying that for me, it would depend on how many other people are around him where he's walking. So if he's walking in an area where people are not generally present, or it's sparse enough that he's not encountering people, I would say he's fine. Personally, I think that you know, there's a lot of information about how long that, you know, the virus can stay in the air and how far it can travel, and all of that information seems to be changing all the time. So, you know, if you wore it, then that would be, I guess, the safest thing to do. However, for me personally, I am not going to wear a mask if I'm walking down an empty street. That's my own personal sense of safety, but everybody has their own levels. So that's something I'd say, is that psychologically, it's important to do whatever you think is keeping you safe, because nobody actually really knows right now what the real thing is. The advice is shifting constantly on this. For the longest time, they said no mask. And, you know, now they're saying, yes, wear the mask. Now you must wear a mask. So it's hard to know. I think he's probably safe if he's not in an area that's heavily trafficked, to not wear a mask. I have seen people almost get hit by cars walking down the center of the street, crossing streets diagonally, doing all kinds of things just to stay off of the sidewalk. But it seems like they're putting themselves in other types of danger that could be even worse for them, you know, getting hit. So that's been kind of interesting to observe. But hopefully he's not riding in heavily trafficked areas or walking in heavily trafficked areas, and I would imagine he'd be fine.
And ultimately, what we've been talking about all day too is that psychological component. So we want to flush the fear and get out of that mentality, stay more relaxed and happy, keep our immune system turned on by not having our stress level be so high. And
Andrea,
then
can you guys hear
doing these
me?
other, yeah, we can hear
Okay.
you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
You know, making all these other choices with our lifestyle is how we support ourselves, so that our immune system is strong regardless of what we're exposed to. It's our big message today, that it's not just about blocking everything out, it's about building ourselves up so that we are resilient against whatever we might face, the millions of microorganisms that we face on any given day.
One thing I'll just say, one note from a Chinese medicine standpoint, respiratory illnesses are considered wind diseases for the most part. So the more important thing to think about, Stephanie, just for your husband, is just to make sure that he's not unnecessarily exposing himself to a lot of wind, literal wind, because in our medicine, at least, we consider that something that the body has to work to counterbalance. You know?
Yes, it's stressful. It requires energy to combat, to regulate our temperature. And then that idea of exercise and working out and stress. So along the lines of what Tiari just brought out here, is it's not just the wind, it's also the temperature change based on our sweat and having our throat and having the back of our neck exposed to the air. So all of our pores are open, we're all sweaty, we're letting that wind, that exterior, all of those pathogens inside of us, and having that shock of temperature too, which also is a challenge to our body too.
Right. So it's the basic advice of just don't catch cold. You know,
literally
try not to catch cold. If you're, you know, if you're in a position where you like to go, you know, ride your bike in a windy place, you know, along a boardwalk somewhere, this might not be the best time to do that.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that part as well about the, you know, when it comes down to all the different the different advice that we're getting from, like you had mentioned, Jerry, from CDC and from everybody. It's just, I mean, it always got to come back to, it's like, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's it. And one thing you have to realize is it's going to keep changing because, one, we don't know enough about what this is, or at least the experts don't know enough. And the second thing is they didn't want to put everyone in mass hysteria. So that these things are always going to come out, and it's going to seem like it's a little bit of a cluster, which it is, but it's also because they don't want to put everyone in mass hysteria. So they space all this stuff out, because there are some countries in Europe, like from day one, Czech Republic was, you have to wear a mask. They put everybody inside once they closed the borders the very few days after it happened in Italy. And they made it, they said, nope, you have to wear a mask. And then everyone made them if they couldn't buy them. And within just a few days, that was it. So, and there was a few other countries, but those are smaller countries. There's not 350 million people spread out over 3,000 miles. So I just like everyone to keep that in mind, right? From an organizational standpoint, project management, it just takes a long time, and they're going to space all this stuff out. Just something to keep in mind. But I agree with you, everything you're saying on the, especially when it comes to density, right? If you're going to wear a mask when you go outside, if there's density of people, use common sense.
Yeah.
Even if you're asymptomatic and you're immune to whatever this is out there, you keep spreading it, of course, or you could just make matters worse and somehow be a carrier. Right.
And if you have a mask on and but your clothing, if it's a cloth mask, you need to wash it in soap and water. So don't just keep re-wearing the mask, or put your hand on the mask, take it off, and then take that hand and, pick up that peeled orange.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or
touch your shirt. Yeah.
Touch your shirt and the clothing as well. If I'm standing in line somewhere and I'm wearing my mask and somebody behind me is coughing,
yeah,
I go and I get in my car, I'm sitting down, this is the mask now.
Yeah.
This needs to be washed.
Yeah.
Not in a way that you're going to be insane and paranoid and make yourself crazy, start crying thinking that this is the end now, but just be sanely, calmly cautious. Okay, I just went out. I know I'm supposed to wash my clothes all the time. Maybe I'm not doing it all the time, but I am not going to forget the fact that somebody was coughing. I am definitely going to now wash these clothes.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's just common sense, right?
Common sense.
Someone sneezes on you, you usually just say, big deal, even before this, before the coronavirus.
Yeah.
You got to go wash. You're probably going to take your clothes off. Probably some people might gag a little bit. Whatever it is, you got to do something. You're going to react.
Yeah.
If there's anything, that's common sense, and react. Because I mean, a big part of it is, viruses, they have to get inside you somehow. Mm-hmm. So you don't just catch it, right? Like, it has to get into your system. So if you are being cautious and you're closing off your orifices in some way and not allowing the germs to get in there, so washing your hands before you eat, and just like you said, your clothes, things that are going to somehow get around something we're going to ingest. If you're taking those precautions, that's a large part of the battle. Yeah. That's why they say wash your hands and you take your shoes off before you go in the house and all these little things. It's not
and
it's not hard.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing is, there's been recent acknowledgement of the fact that it's also fecal oral, which, is pretty nasty to think about. But
wash your hands.
Wash your hands, and Jesus. Also close the lid of the toilet before you flush it. Yeah. Because people often don't do that. And I don't know, way back when I saw some sort of, graphic of the atomized, bacteria and other things that come out of a toilet when you flush it. And this is a really good time to be aware of that, because, who needs it? Who needs it?
Yeah.
It's like, it goes like what, like 5 or 7 feet or something.
Yeah.
So if it's an open bathroom and your toothbrush is like less than 5 feet away, guess what's on your toothbrush?
Or maybe it was nearby the doorknob that you touched to get in and out of the bathroom that's close by the toilet. Like, there's so
less
many
gross, but yeah, that
too.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Well-
that's actually, Dr. Schultz has a product that's called, it's an oral rinse that is
Mhm.
antibacterial, antiviral stuff in there, kind of similar to the throat and tonsil, but that the idea is that you want to like regularly just make sure that you're not inhaling or taking things in to this area, because
Mm-hmm.
this is your gatekeeper zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And Stephanie was just asking about ears.
Yes. Thanks for noticing that.
Very important, because yes, this is another orifice,
Mhm.
and the ears and the sinuses
Mhm.
and the back
Are
of your throat
connected.
are all connected. And, just, not to be scary sounding also, but your brain is, you just want
In
to
the
keep
neighborhood. Yeah.
in the neighborhood, and you just want to make sure that whatever comes in doesn't go any further than this. You don't want it getting into your lungs, even if it's a common flu. Okay. It doesn't have to be that we're thinking about whatever this is necessarily life-threatening per se, but, and whatever it is, let's just keep it from going any further than this.
So
Sore
shots of
throat,
tequila, right?
shot of tequila, as
Yeah. Shot of
Alcohol
tequila.
kills it.
friends have said to me, get the real mezcal
Yeah.
stuff. Or again, with the colloidal silver, if I get that little sore throat pops up, Stephanie, your husband goes out and he is riding his bike near the beach. He comes back, he has a sore throat, it's there again in the morning. Just do a few sprays of that and just knock it back. Or again, gargle with salt water and some other antibacterials. Be more proactive than you would be normally.
And then with this itchy ears thing, yes, so don't stick your fingers inside of your ears at this time. Would be a good habit to start to work on to
Or make
change.
sure they're super,
Yeah,
just
or
make sure
you
they're
wash
super
your
clean.
hands and you're like, I'm going to wash my hands and
Mhm.
this is my scratch my ear time.
Yeah, here's a pet peeve of mine, which I think people don't talk about enough with the swabs.
Mm-mm.
So many people have swabs sitting in their bathroom in little cups where they're kind of exposed. That is not good. Do not put that in your ear. You need to keep your swabs either in the box. You want to treat them like something that is, you never want to touch that tip. You don't want the tip touching the cap of a little container that you've put it in.
Supposed to be sterile.
It has to be sterile. When you put it, so many people, they take the things out and then they put their hands on the top and they pat them down into the little container.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
It's in a humid environment, and that is not good. So do not do that. It would be better for you, honestly, for you to make sure your hands were really clean and then scratch your ear.
Mm-hmm.
Or take a piece of fresh tissue paper that's been in the box, take the old Q-tip that may have been exposed and put the tissue paper over the Q-tip and use that to scratch your ear. That's what I would do.
And she had another question too about how do you guys feel about walking barefoot outside?
Well, we know in Chinese medicine, we don't necessarily like things that chill the feet. So because the foot that is considered kind of a gateway point energetically, just like these orifices are physical gateway points, the bottom of your feet is almost like an energetic gateway point for cold or heat, medicines, anything, you want to absorb. We absorb a lot through our feet. And I know that it's great for earthing and all of that, but I would just say overall, keep your feet warm. Maybe don't go for, well, we're not supposed to be on the beach as it is, but walks on the beach where your feet are freezing, that's generally not considered good protocol to keep yourself safe from catching cold. So
Because also too, you know, for thousands of years where this history comes from, they didn't have all of our electricity and heating pads and, you know, hot baths, and they couldn't really balance out regulating their temperature. And so that cold shock is a challenge to the body, and then it's hard to diffuse it, hard to rebalance again. And Stephanie was actually talking more about the idea of the germs on the ground and bringing that in on the feet into the house too. So again, that's a common sense point. Yeah.
I think that's really worth thinking about. I mean, going barefoot in your backyard, if you have one, is a whole different thing from, you know, walking barefoot on a sidewalk. Although it's, you know, I don't know what the weather's like where you are, but where I am, it's been drizzling and overcast. But if it's a sunny day and it's an open sidewalk, chances are that sidewalk actually is getting a lot of UV radiation. So, you know, some things are getting killed by that, but other things that are more recent, if someone just spit and then you step in it, and then you walk into your house and you spread it on your carpet, and then later you lie down on your carpet and then you eat from your hands, yes, you've just transmitted whatever was in that sputum into your own mouth. So that is correct. But that is a scenario that you want to hopefully avoid having happen by not putting anything, not using your hands to eat at all unless they have just been washed. I think that's one of the biggest ways to keep the germs, any kind of flu, at bay, is to make sure that you're not putting your hands, touching things, putting your hands on your face, or eating with your hands when your hands have not been just washed.
And same thing with the feet, like just wash your feet then when you come inside, you know.
With soap.
Yeah, simple. And then we do Chinese herbal medicine, for example, is foot bath soaks, because like Tiari has explained, that is a way to deliver the herbal medicine into your system. It will soak through your skin and into your bloodstream, and so you can absorb the herbs from that too. So that is a delivery system. And if we can gargle with salt, we can also take a foot bath and put some Epsom salt in there, and then that's going to relax our nervous system and chill us out. So if you want to walk outside barefoot, take a nice foot bath with Epsom salt then.
Right. And, you know,
and chill out when you come back.
Yes. I mean, by the same token, you know, it's good to remember just the old naturopathic approaches to body temperature regulation. So, you know, if you're running a fever, right, the old naturopathic thing, put a cool thing across the back of your neck, because you have all these different barometric sensors and things in your veins along here that when those are warm, right, the body reacts in a certain way. If they get the message that it's cold, the body reacts differently. So you can modulate your body's temperature by how much cold or heat you expose certain parts of your body to. So high yield points for that are around your neck, the top of your head. That's why going to sleep with, you know, wet hair is not a good idea, because you will really affect your body temperature and drop it by having a cold head. Conversely, having a, you know, warm head is good to keep your body temperature regulated on the warm side. Same thing with your feet. If you are walking around with bare feet and your feet are cold, that is contributing to a colder pressure toward a lower temperature in your body overall. If you're warming your feet up, that's contributing to raising your temperature a little bit overall. So those are just high yields. Same thing with under your arm. Running a high fever, old naturopathic, you know, it's like ice cubes under your armpits. You know, if you're hypothermia, you need to bring it up. Hot packs, hot water bottles, you know, these are all the high yield points for changing or adjusting your body temperature. So just good to keep in mind.
Yes, and fever too is a mechanism the body uses to kill disease, just like when we cook things. So it's the same kind of idea. It can serve a purpose too.
Yes.
And then, Stephanie said about the Qigong tapping technique. I had showed that at 1 o'clock, and Tiari had done that too before teaching her husband that. Because again, we we will be exposed not only to these microorganisms of millions of kinds out in the world, not just Corona-19. That's part of the living organism experience in a living organic world, right? And so that's just par for the course of going out in life, and we'll have these temperature exposures. And what this all comes back to is come from this empowered place of just paying attention. How are you feeling at any given moment, and evaluate. And how can you help yourself rebalance with the heating pad around the neck if you were chilled, right? And then when we are exposed to toxins, whether it's in pesticide form from a non-organic food or something we ate, we can detox from that. That's part of what the tapping is about, to flush things out of our lymphatic system. And then Stephanie's mentioning here too that she has this beamer device that increases microcirculation, because again, the movement, the exercise, right? Microcirculation is actually necessary.
Yes, yes. You know, I was going to say there was one other thing which I didn't bring up because it's not easy for me to bring it here to show you, but infrared light lamps. We use those a lot in Chinese medicine in the clinic.
Yeah, the far infrared.
Far infrared lights. You can get those lamps. You can order them online. Those are the lamps that when you're having an acupuncture treatment, you're lying on the table, sometimes the practitioner will bring this heat lamp over and it'll be on your body. Now, that is a fascinating technology. Beamer is a different technology. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that, but just to address the specific value of infrared heat when you're dealing with viruses, because that infrared heat is literally going a certain number of millimeters into your body and raising the temperature. And viruses don't like that. That's why we get fevers, because our bodies are killing viruses off with that heat. So similarly, infrared light, there are studies that have shown that it does really help to downregulate the enzymatic activity and reproduction abilities of viruses. And those lamps are not super expensive. It's a great tool to have. I have many friends, Asian friends, over the years since I was young. I used to go into their homes and I'd see their parents sitting back on one of these, you know, recliners, and they have these crazy looking infrared heat machines that were left over from the 50s that don't look quite like the ones we use now, but it was a home remedy, a way to keep the family healthy, was to give them a little bit of a dose of that far infrared heat. So that is another very simple technique. Only concern with that is you want to make sure that you have it either on a timer or you set an alarm for yourself, because you don't want to fall asleep under one of those and get overheated or burned. Yeah. So, but that is a great tool. So, and then Renee, I don't know, you know more about the beamer. I've done some training on it that we all did with Stephanie, but I do believe that those devices also have some, you know, very beneficial.
Yeah, they have a red light that comes with that device too. So it's not just the pad that you lay on. It's a pad that can go on a chair, a bed, a treatment room, massage table. And when I've used it in conjunction with acupuncture over the last 10 years, what we want to do with the acupuncture needle stimulation, just like we're doing with the breath work, with the qigong practice, with the yoga, with the tapping, with the acupressure of the ear seeds, right? All of these tools are working together to stimulate these positive responses from our body for its own self-healing mechanism.
Yes.
And so we want more circulation to clear out all of the toxins, all of the waste products from cellular respiration out of the lymphatic system, and make space for new blood, body fluids, new nutrients, new oxygen delivery, right, to stimulate more processes. And so one of the things that the beamer does is, by increasing this microvascular capillary type circulation, is that those are the circulatory areas of the body generally as someone is naturally aging, right? The cold hands, the cold feet, and then there's other conditions like Raynaud's disease where there's circulatory problems. when we can't get any blood and nutrients to an area and we can't clear out any waste products, that's a problem. That tissue, those cells cannot possibly survive and be healthy in those areas without that circulation delivery.
Yes.
And so again, it boosts everything, right? Like we're boosting the body's own regenerative healing mechanisms by supporting circulation in general, right?
Yes. Circulation and elimination. We didn't really go over the, gastrointestinal aspects of immunity, but let's just say, make sure that you're eliminating. So,
yeah.
you want to you don't want to do drastic detox, but you do need to make sure that you are not constipated, that you are eliminating, that you are drinking water, so that the body is naturally emptying itself of toxins. People can get into all kinds of very elaborate remedies for dealing with their constipation. Here is the most simple thing you can do is get some dried plums, aka prunes, stew them with lemon. Okay, and eat that. One or two.
Drink some uniodized sea salt, right?
Yeah, you can drink some actual Epsom salt in warm water. The dosage is online. You can look it up. I believe it's 2 teaspoons per 8 ounces of warm water, and within minutes you will move everything out.
Yes.
Yep. Be by a bathroom.
I find that I've always found that a little bit powerful response.
That is a very elegant way to say it. Okay. Yes, I think her prunes, right? She's giving you a milder path to that result.
It's mild, and you also get the citrus component that is always good to have as well.
I'm about efficiency. Get it done.
Yes. The citrus is also nice to have in the morning a little bit as well, because that also helps with a little bit of a liver detox on a mild level. So those are things that you can do that are kind of like in the daily habit realm. It's not for a massive, if you were really in a critical state with your constipation, go for that Epsom salt, because it's going to be all ports open. Okay. But if it's a situation where it's less serious, or you just want maintenance, that is a great thing to do. Great for kids. Anybody in the family can, make use of that.
At any age, it's very safe, very subtle. Yes. And then you have all of the phytochemicals in the natural plants too. There's other good things in there besides the action of the constipation being relieved too.
Yes, yes.
And then, with all of this water, drinking half of your body weight in ounces, and then also fiber is something that we don't absorb, and so it'll carry the toxins out. So then just being conscious with these basic foundations of drinking enough water and having enough fiber to clear all this out. And having this lifestyle, again, this is about a long-term conscious and aware lifestyle of helping the body do its job of detoxing and regenerating and defending with immunity. So we're just all trying to help all of you start to wake up and become more aware and more conscious of how we are helping ourselves. And when we were talking this morning too about mindsets with Michael and Sean, again, what we're thinking creates very powerful emotions that drive behaviors and drive physiological responses from our body. And so it's very important, right, that you weren't here, Michael. We had a fun term that was coined by Simone when she spoke with us too, called fear porn.
Fear porn.
Yes, there's an epidemic of fear porn, and it can be addictive to watch. And then we're constantly, we're stimulated with that, and to have this fear mentality. So we had talked earlier when Michael was on about, limiting that exposure, being aware, but not going over the top with it.
Yeah.
Because all of these work together.
What's really cool is, I don't know how many fans of Bill Maher or Stephen Colbert, how many fans are listening, but even those guys who, that make a living watching the news and you know, either making fun of it or just, you know, relaying it in a comedic way. Even they are like, I'm not watching the news. Even they're not doing it, and that was their job. So they're taking a needed break, and they joke about it. But I always wondered how even Jon Stewart did it for so long. It's like how he used to get so frustrated, you know, and it built all of that stress inside until finally he was like, yeah, I'm done with this. You know, so even people like that are even taking a step away from it.
Yes, because if we're self-aware, we can realize how it's affecting us, and we can see that it changes our state in a negative way, right? Do we have more tension? You know, how do we feel after we watch that? And I've noticed I like to read the news. I don't get as activated from reading it. So I can read it online in a New York Times. I feel less triggered than if I actually watch and hear and see the video visuals.
And they send the updates every day, just like bullet
every
points.
single day.
Or New York Times are like, this is all you need to know, real quick. Like,
and I get that summary, and that's enough, and I get out, because I find to be much more activated from watching a video news program.
Yeah, it's less emotional.
Much more. Yeah, I'm too triggered. Yeah, I just get the facts and get out.
Yep.
You know,
without getting all my buttons pushed.
Yeah, I think it's you know, for me, I really, when I watch that stuff, and I do check in on that kind of thing from, you know, periodically. I try to limit it, but because I really want to be in the position of really knowing what's happening, so that if I'm conveying information to other people, it's my best distillation. But it's a fine line of, you know, it's a tightrope, because you can go into you know, yes, Lily, you can go into overdosing on it.
Absolutely.
Very quickly.
Well, they're repeating the same thing over and over and over again.
And emotionally stimulating, pushing buttons over and over and over again.
It just says breaking news on the bottom of the screen all day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
you
is it all breaking?
5 hours ago.
Exactly. And you know, what I really want to say too about that is that we have, we're really in a situation where we've been having viruses that are mutating, and there are new viruses of all types that are constantly, this has been going on since the day we were all born.
Yep.
Okay. And it's, and no one's been tracking that. You know, no one is even right now tracking that. The only thing we're tracking is one particular mutation that's happened that we have found existed at the same time that all these other symptoms were happening. That's really all we know. And these mutations are constant. Okay, so the only really sane thing to do is really to adopt a pro-health, pro-immunity lifestyle, period.
And de-stress.
Absolutely.
Be relaxed and happy as much as you can. And when you notice that you are not, stop and do something to make yourself relaxed and happy again.
We'll see how happy everybody's been in the next 9 months when we see how many babies are born.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, that's one way, right? Right? Because this is an opportunity for quality time as well.
Oh, yeah.
With ourselves and with the people that we love most.
Yes.
And also, too, it can be a challenging time, because the opposite side of the fence, I talked to Simone about that in her interview yesterday, a lot of divorces and a lot of babies.
Yeah. And kids, right? Just taking care of your kids and homeschooling. It's a lot of responsibility.
Yes. And I think that
very
is
stressful.
Definitely something that, you know, there's a wonderful gentleman, sometime you'll have to have him on, Renee. His name's Bill Steerley, and he does nonviolent communication.
I love that.
Wonderful
Rothberg,
wonderful resource in the LA area. But he's doing webinars and different things. But he'd be a wonderful person to have on, because he really, and I think at this particular moment in time, some people are experiencing quite a lot of stress, having to be exposed to different family members, and maybe not have the tools that they need
Yes,
to be
that's
able
a
to communicate.
wonderful point.
There's no escape route. So you can't just walk out on the person. You have to stay there and deal with them. But at the same time, your toolkit for doing that and communicating with them is not prepared, right? I mean, you have all of your herbs, you have all this stuff, but you don't have the interpersonal tools.
Yes, these are life skills that's what we were touching on earlier this morning with Michael and Sean, you know, because these attitudes, right, our perspectives and how are we non-reactive and or are we emotionally spun out of control? We're in control of that, right? So how do we respond? Do we excuse ourselves and take a time out? Or do we just let ourselves argue and fight with anyone at any hour of the night and day and see how that works out for us?
I think it's a time when within families, people are coming up against really having to find good ways to share what their needs are.
Yes, in more productive ways.
Productive ways to express that. And that is a tough one because many of us are not used to doing that. And we have more needs than ever. And our buttons are getting pushed in all sorts of ways that we can't escape. So I think it would be wonderful to have some a session that really focused on interfamilial communication in a time of quarantine.
Absolutely. I had shared the book Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. Is an excellent book to teach those nonviolent communication techniques. And that's definitely, these life skills are really important to touch on. And then we were talking earlier with Michael regarding Tiare's taken the wealth dynamics test, Michael.
Oh, a long time ago, right?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
What's your profile?
Creator.
Aha. Yeah,
wow, what a surprise. we kind of get along. We kind of get each other. We know.
Yeah,
right?
just nothing everything gets started, right? A lot of ideas.
Right. I think in oh gosh, what is it? I'm a a manifesting generator in human design.
So am I.
Yeah.
I'm an MG.
Okay.
Yo, MG's in the house.
That's right.
Oh.
Just like an OG.
Yeah.
OGMG. Yeah. So that is, you know, I'll just say this right now. Speaking of manifesting, generating, I'm sitting in a home that I just moved into. I'm actually surrounded by moving boxes. If you could see the whole thing, I just moved in last night.
Yeah, literally. That's so amazing. She's here with us.
Literally last night. You can see the moving boxes. Let's see, where are they? There they all are.
Wow.
They're all over the place here. You know, this is a property that was a retreat center, being used as a retreat center for a number of years. It's a couple of acres and there are beautiful oak trees. And one of the things that is part of what I've been wanting to manifest and generate is a resource to have trainings and workshops and group events at this place to specifically talk about herbal healing, natural healing, nonviolent communication, all of the things that I love, and I know there are members of my community that love. So part of what I'm looking forward to, generating now, that I've achieved this first step at least in this new world, is to figure out how to do a lot of that remotely, since we don't know, how soon we're going to be able to have group events.
But you have a beautiful set that you can use for your videos.
Yeah, you get to
excellent
that.
Set environments, right? You can take us away through the video into your gorgeous, beautiful sanctuary world.
Well, it's, it was a big part of my vision for the longest time. And I think that, what you're doing here, Renee, with really holding events and putting group things together like this and connecting people virtually is what we are all going to have to get used to doing.
Of course.
We have to get used to doing it, and we need to reach out to each other in these mediums, because otherwise there's going to be a restriction of the flow of information. And if we really use these mediums, it can really be the opposite.
And
it's
the
a
total
beautiful
opposite.
thing.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, technology, it's a love-hate relationship for a lot of people, but you don't have to be married to it. But if you use it in an effective way, it's what you just said. You get to open the lines of communication. You get to share things that other people wouldn't normally hear. And you get to cross over every single time zone and just go all around the world, right? And there will be a time, yes, there's a lot gained by being in the physical presence of other people and connecting in that way. But maybe this will force people to also expand their horizons and start experimenting with. I mean, I know Andrea does TM, Transcendental Meditation, right? Maybe people will start learning new ways of meditating and getting out of their body. You know, it sounds all foo-foo for a lot of people, but once you experience it once in your life, you'll say, holy crap, that was kind of an amazing thing. And so maybe everyone will get to do that. No, we'll all come and visit you just transcendentally.
Yeah,
we can
I
come
encourage
into her lucid dreams and say,
I'm an active lucid dreamer, so
awesome.
I'm ready.
Yeah, she again, like just what she's doing with this wonderful property retreat center where she now lives and resides, she creates a space for us to visit in her lucid dreams.
Yeah.
Yes, well,
choose to cultivate ourselves to be able to fly up on in there and say, hey, what's up?
you know, there are anyway, there's some great resources. We can definitely have another session that's all
that's
about
the whole idea. Yes.
consciousness tools.
Yes.
And using those and developing your intuition. Those are also,
That's
important tools for this time. It's
I
important
think
to recognize that while there's a tremendous amount of information coming at us from the outside, we also have a real wellspring of knowledge that comes from within us. And we can't forget to spend time tapping into that.
And it's so much bigger than space and time. It's so much bigger than physics. It's so much bigger than a physical distance, thousands of miles. It's completely irrelevant. We do distance healing. Tiari and I have both studied energy work. You can do distance healing. You don't have to be in the same room with someone. Right. So just as anyone has had that psychic experience, correct? Of you think of someone and then they call you.
Yeah, explain that.
Because we're so connected. We're so connected.
Yes, we are.
Beyond space, beyond time. And that is absolutely irrelevant. When we have that kind of deep soul connection, we can psychically connect with each other anywhere in the world at any given time. Yeah. And we can sense and feel things from each other and know when to call someone we love, know when they're thinking of us, know when we encounter things that make each other think of each other. We have these beautiful, beautiful experiences all the time that we can write up as coincidence, but there is this collective unconscious. Again, Carl Jung from the talk that Michael did earlier, there's so much ancient knowledge from the I Ching that's been shared for a reason, because these things are real.
Yes,
they are real.
I can't wait to go back and listen to your talk, Michael.
Yeah.
So, well, we talked about the wealth dynamics portions, just be something you've heard about before, but I think it's important to always recognize, because I've been
the roots,
like anybody, right? Like a lot of people, is I need to see it to believe it. At least I did, and it wasn't until I was introduced to other ways of thinking over the last 15 years and I put faith in what could be, so that I could experience something completely new. But so many times in the world of science, right? We're in the science age still, and for the last few hundred years, and it's like, no, you got to prove it. There's got to be a scientific method. I got to see it to believe it. As for the thousands and the eons before that, human beings, we put our faith in things and we had to believe it so we could see it. So we're starting to turn that a little bit. And as long as you're open to it, you can experience some really, truly amazing things. But if you see on a screen, then you're going to really limit your experience in your life and the exposure you have to cool things.
Yeah. People
And that's
certainly
part of the point of experiencing new things and having
Mhm.
this be a safe place and a group to try new tools and experience new things and have these personal experiences that are undeniable.
That's right.
Thank you so much, Renee. I think we've got
We are, yes,
more-
we have hit time, 5:05.
yeah.
Time is back. Time and space has reappeared.
Yes, we will recognize there is a time and space continuum that we are a part of right now. We will come back from the ether, and really, I'm so grateful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for sharing this experience, everyone, and you too.
Thank you.
And
Thank
And
you.
I
I
look
wanna
forward
say-
to what we will do next.
Yes, and Renee, speaking of what we can do next, I just wanted to put it out there and see if anybody who's listening, if Stephanie may be interested, or Vlad, in a medicine making class. So with using natural ingredients to make your own home remedies.
Yes, we can make our own tinctures, our own
So-
oils. You guys can let us know our own foot baths if you guys would like that. So, yes, any questions, comments? Yes, Stephanie says that sounds great. So,
Yeah.
so we can follow up with all of you guys with the replay. You can respond to us with any questions, any suggestions of what you would like to learn about next to add to your toolbox, right? For quality of life, for health, for longevity, right? Enjoyment. And we shall continue.
All right. Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you both so much. Thank you everyone for joining us, and have a wonderful evening and enjoy your time.
Thank
Dream in
you.
color. Ciao.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.